Over 40 billion Oreos are made every single year. It's the world's most popular manufactured cookie. The geometric design stamped into these cookies has the Nabisco logo, the symbol of European quality, surrounding the word Oreo. William Tournier created the chocolate cookie design we see today back in 1952. Headphone jacks might become a thing of the past because of wireless technology, but if you've seen one, you might have noticed the rings at the base of the plug. One ring means single sound playback, 2 rings represent stereo sound in the left and right ear, while 3 rings means you've got stereo and a microphone built in. Now, the iconic orange, red, purple, yellow, and lime green rings of Fruit Loops hide a deep secret within. They don't represent different fruit flavors. All those rings are the same fruit flavors blended together. The colors are just for show. The E in Dell's logo is at an angle because the founder, Michael Dell, wanted his technology to turn the world on its ear. A compass uses magnets to point to the magnetic North Pole, but it's not really north at all. The North Pole of a compass magnet points toward the north because the north and south attract. Earth's south magnetic pole is near the geographic north, while the North Pole is near Earth's geographic south. Confusing, isn't it? Those little red spots you sometimes see after you crack an egg are nothing to be worried about. Tiny blood spots can be caused by a small rupture in the blood vessel of the hen as it was laying the egg. Eggs with these blood spots are safe to eat, but that spot can be removed if you want. It won't affect the taste of the egg. That's comforting. Ketchup is a word taken from many cultures, like Chinese, Malay, and Indonesian. It originally meant a pickled fish sauce. Catsup is also an acceptable spelling used. However, ketchup is the most popular way it's spelled these days. Airbnb's logo isn't a bent paperclip as it may seem to be. Bello, as it's called, for belonging, means more than that. There's a person's head, the location symbol, and a heart for love. All joined together, they make Airbnb's iconic A and symbol of togetherness. E120 or Natural Red 4 food coloring, aka carmine, is made from tiny beetles. It's been used to color anything from cakes to candy to even drinks. That shine on candy also comes from bugs. This time it's the Indian female lac bug. The beetle leaves behind a substance that is scraped from the trees to be formed into dry shellac that gives that glossy look. The Mozilla Firefox logo isn't a fox at all surrounding the planet. It's a red panda instead. The name Firefox is the English translation of its Chinese name. Those maintenance covers in the street are around for safety reasons. In past civilizations, like ancient Rome, manholes, that's what they were called back then, were square-shaped slabs of stone. Unfortunately, these were prone to accidents. If they weren't placed properly, a square cover could slip through the square hole diagonally. Ow! Placing a round cover eliminated this problem. A circle cover won't slip inside because there are no angles. A tomato isn't technically a vegetable, but a fruit. Banana trees aren't related to palm trees or trees at all. They're herbs. Banana is considered an herb because it never builds a woody trunk the way a tree does. Instead, it forms a succulent stalk, like lemongrass or its cousin ginger. You can call them berries as well. The Golden Gate Bridge color wasn't meant to be the orangey red that it is today. The bridge's original color was suggested to be many other colors, such as black with yellow stripes or even candy cane to make it visible for passing ships and aircraft, especially in the frequent San Francisco fog. But when the steel arrived covered in an orange primer to protect it from rust, the architect preferred the international orange color, and it stuck. Those legs on the back of keyboards aren't an ergonomic design to help your wrists sit better. Using the legs out for too long can tire and hurt your wrists, plus slowing your typing down. The hinge legs are just there to help you see the letters and numbers better if you don't know how to touch type. The color of a chili pepper reveals nothing about its taste or heat. The smaller a chili is, the hotter it'll usually be. The heat doesn't come from the seeds, as believed, but the white membranes that hold them. Hidden within the Toblerone logo of the mountain is the image of a bear standing on its hind legs, about to eat that yodeler over there. No, not really. This is because bears are a big part of Bern, one of the biggest cities in Switzerland, where the founder created the triangle chocolate treat. Toblerone is also a play on the founder's family name, Tobler, and the Italian word Torrone for honey and almond nougat. The space below a cup of noodles is there to protect the noodles during transport. This technique is called a middle suspension. Not only are they protected better in their styrofoam cup, but it also helps those noodles soften more evenly and quickly. Now, even though you might have thought that the hole in the barrel of a ballpoint pen had no purpose, it does. It's called a venting system, which helps the ink flow more smoothly. This way, an even amount of air pressure is created inside and outside the pen, allowing the ink to flow into the point easily. One of the most recognized logos in the cycling world has a hidden item in its famous logo. Inside the Tour de France name, a cyclist hides in the O, U, and R. Those metal brackets on the top of the nozzles in gas stations have a unique design put into place in case of accidents. If a dodo accidentally forgets the nozzle is still inside the gas tank and starts driving away, the magnetic brackets separate without damaging any part of the gas pump. Wendy's logo is designed off of the daughter of creator Dave Thomas. It's also named after her nickname, but there is more to the logo than that. Wendy's collar spells out the word mom. While unintentional, it became something to mean a homey feel more than any other restaurant out there. Finding the right lane to be in while driving for your exit can sometimes be confusing, especially in a foreign country. Pay attention to the side of the road that exit signs are located. It'll be the lane you need to be in. Some toothpaste has a little seal on them that needs to be removed before you can use them. Instead of peeling back the foil layer, the toothpaste lid has a little spike on the top just for this reason. Tostitos have a secret symbol hidden right in the middle of their name. The two T's in the middle of the logo resemble two people enjoying Tostitos over a bowl of salsa. The salsa bowl is in red and forms the dot in the eye. One of the most recognizable figures in the world, the Statue of Liberty, for 16 years functioned as a fully operational lighthouse. However, the light was barely visible even from Manhattan. In 1901, it was eventually decommissioned as a lighthouse. Tourists could even visit the torch for a stunning view of the city. But an accident damaged the Statue of Liberty's torch in 1916, and it's been closed to the public ever since. The Do Not Remove Under Penalty of Law tag on mattresses isn't put there for the consumer or void your warranty either if you do remove them. In the 1900s, manufacturers used to create the filling with basically anything: animal hair, old hospital beds, or clothing. It didn't matter at the time. Strict laws created the tags to stop recycled materials from being used and sold as new. Good thing. Toyota's symbol is more than just some random rings combined. The three overlapping ovals symbolize the merge of the hearts of consumers and Toyota together. A California sushi roll is made of seaweed, rice, cucumber, avocado, and crab meat. But it's not crab meat at all. Surimi is an imitation crab meat. It's made of white fish blended with sugar instead of crustaceans. The fish mixture is then heated and pressed into shape. The logo for Beats is just a lowercase b inside of a red circle. The circle represents a human head, with the b being the headphones in their shape. All those little black dots around the edges of car windows are called frits. A frit is a painted black enamel that's put into windshields during manufacturing. They block ultraviolet rays and help distribute temperatures between the metal and glass. There are 24 symbols hidden inside the Unilever logo. Let's count, shall we? The sun, dove, plant, spark, chili pepper, spoon, bowl, flower, ice cream, hand, hair, lips, swirl, fish, clothes, bee, particles, packaging, transformation, waves, DNA, palm trees, heart, and virtuous cycle, whatever that is. These represent everything that the company believes in and produces. DNA. Bobby pins are designed so that the zigzag part goes onto your scalp, not the flat part. It gives a greater grip on the hair and skin, making the pin stay in longer. The story that the pins were named after those fashionable London constables called bobbies is not true. I made it up. You see these blades? They have notched corners to make your cutting experience smoother. Ooh! The front edge notch helps with separating blades during manufacturing, while the trailing edge notch helps the blade glide easily. And a fun fact, that notch on the front also helps you spot unused sections of the blade. Just a little visual indicator to make your life easier. When it comes to silver versus black blades, they're both made from the same stuff. But black blades are sharper and are better suited for cutting through tough materials, while silver blades strike a balance between cutting power and durability. If you want that extra cutting oomph, go for black. Oh, almost forgot. The only thing those blades aren't meant to cut is food. It has a rust-proofing oil coating, which is not safe for humans. Check this one out. It's totally giving me childhood vibes. Now, I remember my grandma having tomato-shaped pincushions just like this, and sometimes they would look more like a salad, with a little pepper thrown in there. Well, believe it or not, this salad actually has a purpose. The tomato keeps your pins in place, while the pepper keeps them sharp. Those peppers are filled with sand, which helps keep your pins nice and sharp. And it's not just sand. Crushed walnuts can also be used to keep your pins in tip-top shape. Now look at this multiple pocket tool and this little hook on it. It's a bit of a mystery, but it's actually pretty handy. I counted at least 4 different applications. 1. You can use it to carry all sorts of awkward stuff, like camping gear or heavy parcels. 2. Need to twist some wire or play around with knots? The parcel hook has got you covered. 3. This hook can save the day with those stubborn zippers, like the ones on your luggage. 4. It's great for pretending to be a budget version of Captain Hook. If you know more applications, let me know in the comments. Apple users, with this feature, you'll never get laundry surprises again. Now, I bet you've had this situation at least once in your life. You wash your stuff, and when you take it out of the washing machine, the size seems to only fit your cat. Your iPhone camera can actually translate those funky laundry symbols for you. There are 2 requirements though. You must have iOS 17, and your phone must be in English. Take a photo of the care label, go to the Photos app, and see the details of the image. Everything will be automatically decoded and explained to you. Now, many toasters come with nifty removable crumb trays at the bottom. It's super important to give these trays a good clean every now and then to keep your toaster running smoothly and avoid any potential fire hazards. Just pop them out, shake out the crumbs, and you're good to go. Where you shake them out is up to you. Those little compartments on your gas pump aren't just for show. They're actually there to hold your cap while you're filling up. This nifty feature keeps things tidy and prevents any spills or drips on the handle. So, say goodbye to messy refueling experiences and hello to a cleaner pump. Plus, it makes the whole process way more convenient and efficient. Now, I'll bet your oven gets so greasy and dirty sometimes that you can even hear it oink. Yeah, just kidding. I know you're a tidy person. Anyway, if you're looking for a way to bring your kitchen cleaning to a whole new level, here's a tip for you. Most oven doors have handy latches that let you pop the door off for easy cleaning, saving your poor back from the strain. When you're draining noodles or potatoes, there's no need to bother transferring everything to a colander in the sink. Just throw the colander right into the pot, hold it down, and pour the liquid out. It makes life so much easier, especially when you want to save that starchy water for recipes. It's a must for authentic pasta, by the way. So let's say you've snagged this gem at a thrift store a while back for just under $1. It's seen better days, serving as an ashtray, but you decide it's time to give it a new lease on life. Here's the lowdown on how to make it shine again. Mix up a solution of boiling water, baking soda, and table salt in a bowl lined with aluminum foil. Let the piece soak for about 15 minutes and repeat this process 3 times. In between soaks, gently scrub any rough spots with a microfiber cloth. After the final soak, dry the piece off and rub on some toothpaste, baking soda, and peroxide. Buff out any remaining tarnish with a clean, dry microfiber cloth. Rinse it off, and now your piece is practically gleaming like a mirror. These aluminum foil boxes have nifty little tabs on the sides that make it super easy to grab a sheet without any hassle. It's like a fancy little bonus that makes the product a breeze and ensures you'll have a smooth sailing experience every time. Manual can openers often come with a handy built-in feature, also known as a bottle opener. It's like getting 2 tools in one. But did you know that this bottle opener actually has another useful function? It can help you loosen those stubborn, hard-to-open jars. Simply lift the lid slightly at a couple of points with the bottle opener, and then watch it as it effortlessly twists right off. Yeah! Okay, I just found that, apparently, you're supposed to save the first and last slices of a loaf of sliced bread for last. It's like a bread hack or something. Apparently, those end pieces help keep the rest of the bread fresher for longer, and you shouldn't eat them until you've devoured the rest of the loaf. So, next time you're making a sandwich, save those heel slices for the very end. Even bread eating needs a good strategy. Now look at those blue levers on the top rack of your dishwasher. I was curious about them too, and it turns out they're actually water bottle sprayers. They help to ensure that your bottles get a thorough cleaning and rinse during the wash cycle. Many vegetable peelers have those little scoops on top for taking out the eyes from potatoes. And here's a cool tip. You can actually use vegetable peelers in both directions to peel faster, but most people just stick to one direction. When using yellow mustard, make sure to push the lid of the bottle all the way open until you hear a satisfying click. This way the lid will stay securely in place and won't get in the way when you're dispensing the mustard onto your food. It's a simple step that can make your condiment experience hassle-free and enjoyable. So there. You know that little hole at the end of your pot or pan? Well, it's not just for show. You can actually use it as a handy holder for your forks and spoons. Next time you're cooking up a storm in the kitchen, just pop your utensils in that convenient little hole and keep them close at hand. Okay, just a heads up to remember to switch the direction of your ceiling fan for the changing weather, and to give it a good clean too. I've seen that a lot of folks found it helpful before to reverse the fan's direction by flipping a switch for different seasons. So this is just a friendly reminder to go ahead and do it again, pushing hot air down and pulling cold air up. When you're chowing down for some pizza, just tear off the top of the box and use it as a big old plate. You can even rip the box in half and fold it to save some leftovers for later. Well, that's it for today. What, you want to know more cool facts? Sure, but you'll have to subscribe and hit the bell to get more videos. I'm waiting. Go ahead.
You know that weird feeling when your eyes are seeing one thing, but your body feels something different? Yeah, that's motion sickness. Turns out 8 out of 10 people feel it pretty bad. Sure, you could pop some pills or grab those motion sickness glasses if you're not a fan of Big Pharma, but let's be honest, those glasses can be a bit hit or miss. Now if you've just splurged on a shiny new iPhone, you're in luck. Apple rolled out this feature to help with motion sickness. It tends to hit hardest when you're reading or scrolling instead of just staring out the window. So, Apple invented vehicle motion cues. With this feature, you can use your phone in the car. Just don't be the one driving. Here's how it works. Tiny animated dots appear around the edges of your screen, syncing with the car's movement to keep your senses chill. Your iPhone uses built-in sensors to know when you're cruising and adjusts automatically. You can set it up to pop up on its own or toggle it from the control center whenever you need a little help. No need to press any buttons to restart your iPhone if you're using iOS 18. The revamped Control Center keeps all your favorite controls: brightness, volume, orientation, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and adds a shiny new Restart button. Just swipe down from the top right corner of your screen and press and hold that new power button. Don't just tap it. Think of it like a game of hold the button until something cool happens. After a second, the power off slider will pop up. When you're ready to bring your iPhone back to life, just hold down the side button. Easy peasy. It's like magic, but without the rabbits. The iPhone flashlight just got a major glow up. With iOS 18, not only can you adjust the brightness, but now you can also tweak the beam width. If you got a compatible model, that is. Turn on your flashlight through the lock screen or control center, and you'll see a fresh user interface pop up in the dynamic island. Swipe up and down to play with the brightness, and swipe left and right to change the beam width. And if you want to turn it off, just tap anywhere in the dynamic island. Next time you're throwing a party at your place, you'll see there will be people asking you to give them the password for Wi-Fi. You can make it all easier by creating a QR code for everyone who might need to use your network. Got some friends over and want to share your Wi-Fi without the hassle? Even if the person scanning the QR code isn't in your contacts, it's not a problem. This works like a charm for those outside your digital circle. You can even share your Wi-Fi with your Android friends this way. To create a code, just open a new Passwords app. Head to the Wi-Fi section, tap on your network, and hit Show Network QR Code. Have your friends scan it with their cameras, and boom, they're online. If your home screen starts to look like a digital junk drawer, iOS 18 got you covered. You can now ditch those app labels below the icons if you're confident you can recognize your apps just by their thumbnails. To give your home screen a cleaner look, just press and hold a blank spot until everything starts wobbling. Yes, you're in jiggle mode. Then, tap on Edit. Customize. At the bottom, select the large option to make your icons bigger. All done. There's one more makeover iOS 18 finally gives the setting menu. You don't need to scroll through a bunch of system and third-party apps crammed at the bottom. They've all been neatly tucked away under an Apps menu, clean and tidy. Now, when you dive into the main menus, you'll see a little description at the top to guide you. For instance, open the General menu, and you'll get a quick heads up. Manage your overall setup and preferences for iPhone, like software updates, device language, CarPlay, AirDrop, and more. You'll find similar summaries in other sections too, like accessibility and privacy and security. For iOS 18, there's also a smart dialer, making it easier to find your contacts. It's a T9-based system. Yeah, the kind Android users have enjoyed for ages. It lets you type a name using the number pad. So if you want to reach Max, just punch in 629. The system will guess who you're trying to call and show you the contact at the top. The Notes app just leveled up with 2 new features to boost your productivity. Now you can type in a math expression and hit equals to see the result in real time. Need to track your trip expenses, monthly subscriptions, or split that dinner bill? Just pop in the equation right in Notes. You don't need to hop back and forth to the calculator. Plus, the app keeps tabs on your recent notes, so you can switch things up easily. Just tap that 3-dot menu at the top, hit Recent Notes, and you're back to whatever you were working on faster than you can say multitasking. By the way, you can now add color to your text in the notes. Choose from 5 hues: purple, pink, orange, mint, and blue. Now your important points won't just blend in with the rest of the text. They'll pop like a neon sign. Just hit the AA icon and you'll find the color options waiting for you. Now, you don't have to upgrade to the iPhone 16 just to hit pause on your video recording. That's right, the cool pause button is part of the iOS 18 update for all compatible iPhones. So, when you start recording, you'll see that pause button pop up in the corner. It's a game changer for social media influencers who want to snag the perfect shot. Because let's face it, how else are you supposed to get that flawless clip for Instagram or TikTok? You've probably heard about the new Photos app in iOS 18. It's got this cool collections feature that organizes your photos by themes like recent days, pinned collections, trips, memories, and people and pets. If you want to tweak things a bit, just scroll down to the bottom of the app and hit Customize. You can remove, reorder, or add sections to make it just how you like it. It's like rearranging your sock drawer, but way more fun. Apple has also revamped the Utilities menu, making it super easy to find all sorts of goodies like receipts, handwriting, illustrations, QR codes, and documents. Just open up the same Photos app, scroll down to the Utilities menu, pick a category, and boom! You've got the images you need in a flash. Later this year, Apple's rolling out one more cool new feature: eye tracking. It's like magic for people who need a little extra help. Imagine controlling your iPad or iPhone just with your eyes. Yep, the secret sauce is AI. Setting it up is a breeze thanks to the front camera, and don't sweat it about privacy. All your data stays on your device. No sneaky peeking from Apple. You'll be able to use eye tracking across all your favorite apps on iPadOS and iOS. With this nifty feature, you'll navigate apps and even activate stuff just by looking at it. That's right, swipe, tap, and hit buttons all with a glance. Music haptics is a new way for people who are deaf or hard of hearing to vibe with music on their iPhones. When you turn this feature on, the Taptic engine cranks out taps and vibrations that sync up with the music. So far, it only works with some songs available on Apple Music, but there are millions of them. Developers can even use the API to bring this musical magic to their own apps. Vision OS is having new accessibility features this year too. First, there will be system-wide live captions. This means everyone, including those who are deaf or hard of hearing, can follow along with conversations and app audio. And for FaceTime users, live captions will make connecting with others even easier using their persona. Basically, it means you have a beauty filter right when you call.
So, you've bought yourself a new computer, and suddenly there's no place for your old one in your home. You can always sell it, of course, but there are much more interesting ways to use your old laptop or desktop PC. Turn it into a home server. Instead of keeping all your files on your new computer's hard drive, you can set up a home group and connect all your devices in a single network. Then make your old computer's drive shared with the whole network, and everyone in your house will be able to view and use files stored on it, as well as share their own. This comes in especially handy when someone in your family has a device with low space. This way, they can always keep new files in the shared storage. Make a surveillance camera out of it. If you're worried about your security or just want to know what happens inside your home when you're away, repurpose your old laptop with surveillance software. It's free for local use, so you can use it, for example, as a baby monitor or an outside camera to see who's calling on you. It might look weird, though, if you just hang your laptop outside the door, so you may want to rewire it a little bit and extract the camera first. Still, you can pay a reasonable subscription fee to be alerted if something unexpected happens at home while you're away. Build a media center. With the help of some free software, you can use your old computer to stream videos or TV, listen to music, download movies and music tracks, and much more. Just install a few lightweight applications, connect your old PC or laptop to your home network, and use it from any other device in your home. Hang it on the wall. This requires a bit of technical skills, but there are lots of tutorials online, so you'll be fine. Or not. You don't need a new TV to watch videos online if you have an old monitor. Mount it on the wall of your kitchen, for example, to always have access to your favorite shows or your favorite YouTube channels, or just listen to music over it. This works really well with the media center trick I told you about earlier. Make a digital photo frame. Digital frames might cost a pretty penny, so it might be quite satisfying to DIY it. You'll need to take apart your device, but hey, you don't need it anyway. Put the screen into a frame of your choice, hide the innards of the laptop behind it, and run the digital frame software on it, available online. Rig a retro gaming station. Your old computer may be slow, but it's surely still good for playing old games. No complex manipulations included, just install a fresh operating system, get a couple of game pads for yourself and your friends or family, buy some old-school games, and enjoy. Transform your laptop into a tablet. If you're willing to get elbows deep in the electronic guts of your old laptop, you can get yourself a powerful DIY tablet. You'll have to make quite a lot of adjustments, including replacing the default screen with a touchscreen, but the result is worth the effort. Search for tutorials online, choose the one you like the most, get some spare parts, and get down to work. Make a remote network server. An old computer can be a good place to share your files with other people online. You can either set up a website and use your PC as a server, or create an FTP server. It will look very simple, but still serve its purpose of sharing stuff. Using such a structure is more secure than sending files via messengers, and it might be even more convenient since you always have access to it. Experiment with a different OS. Although convenient, Windows or iOS consume a lot of computing power, so you can try out a new operating system to see if it works better for you. Linux, for example, is a great way to turn your old machine into a fast-booting network device you can once again use for work or leisure. There's also the emerging Chrome OS to try. I wouldn't advise experimenting with your main computer, but your old one is well suited for such tasks since you don't need it that much anyway. Get yourself a second monitor. When a laptop or PC breaks, its monitor is usually still functional. So you can use it for work or to play games as a support. In case of a desktop PC, it's extremely simple. Just rig the old monitor to the new system. With laptops, it's more complex. You'll need to unscrew the lid and get it working, but it's easier than it sounds. You can also attach DIY computing hardware to it, such as Raspberry Pi, and get a brand new handmade device. Build a $5 projector. It'll be a short-range one, but still looking cool. You'll need a working laptop with a screen brightness set to max, a cardboard box to put it into, a Fresnel lens – you can get one for a couple of bucks online – and a roll of duct tape. In short, cut a piece out from a side of the box, put the lens inside it with the smooth part looking out, and tape it to the box. Since the lens will make the projected image flip both horizontally and vertically, you'll need to turn your laptop upside down. Just cut out the opposite side of the box, then mount the laptop with its keyboard lying on the top of the box. Set up a makeshift router. In case your router stops working for some reason, you can have an emergency Wi-Fi hotspot. You'll need to connect all your devices into a single home network, and in the old laptop settings, select it as a hotspot. Don't forget to hook it up to the WAN cable though, or it won't work. Play DVDs or Blu-ray discs. I know there's streaming, of course, but those of you who like collecting physical copies of your favorite movies may want to use an old laptop or PC as a spare DVD or Blu-ray player. Most laptops have a CD drive that's capable of playing those, so all you need to do is buy a good acoustic system because the sound on laptops usually is pretty crummy. Use it on the road. Purchase a cable to connect your old laptop to your car, and you can have your very own on-the-road computer. You can use it to listen to music or shows, or set it in the back as an entertainment system for your passengers or kids. If it's a small netbook, it can also be used as a GPS navigation device, in case your smartphone screen is too small, for example. Give it to a family member who's not computer savvy. It'll drive them nuts. Nah. Older people often have trouble grasping the tech, and if you have a grandma or grandpa who calls you every time they need some computer help, you can install a fresh Windows on your old one, set up family access, and give it to them. This way you'll be able to help them directly by accessing their settings online from your device, restricting use or installation of certain apps, and much more. Put its computing power to a good use. You might have heard of SETI at Home, a scientific experiment at UC Berkeley dedicated to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, since there's not much here. You can join it by creating an account there and connecting your old computer to the worldwide network helping the cause. When you install a free program, your computer will start downloading and analyzing data from telescopes. Who knows? Maybe it's your old laptop that will help scientists find ET. Salvage the parts. If nothing else remains and your device is broken for good or bad, don't just throw it away. Some parts of it may still be functional and they might come in handy. If you're into DIY, you can use them in other devices, and if you're not, they still cost money on the market. Check out the prices on eBay, you might be surprised. By the way, if you got a desktop PC that's broken down, think about rigging your own one. Buying new spare parts is often much cheaper than purchasing a brand new machine. Good luck with that!
A label on your panties digging into your most sensitive spots is definitely not the best feeling. Sure, you can cut it off, but often that just leaves even sharper corners that can be more annoying. But what if you've been cutting those labels wrong this whole time? Check it out. On the left, the label is sewn into the seam, while on the right, it's just hanging on by a couple of threads. Just snip those threads, and voila! It's like the label was never even there. Plus, with this little hack, you can always pick panties in the store that are guaranteed to be comfy. If you've traveled to Europe recently, you may have noticed how nasty the bottle caps have become. Yeah, according to the law, they now have to scratch your nose. They have to be attached right to the bottle. If these bottles annoy you too, try this. Once you open the bottle, rotate the cap 90 degrees and pull until one of the plastic connections breaks. And finally, turn the bottle until the cap touches your chin, not your nose, and drink. You've been using the colander in the wrong way all this time. This smart kitchen device has a hidden function. The traditional way of draining noodles involves dumping boiled noodles into a colander, right? But if your colander is about the same size as your pot, try this instead. Place the colander on top of the pot with the noodles, like a lid, and drain the water out. This method is faster and less messy, and it keeps your noodles in the pot where they belong. Toilet plungers and sink plungers are quite different, and the toilet version has a handy rubber flap called a flange that pops out from the cup. This flange fits snugly over toilet drains, giving you strong suction to tackle stubborn clogs. While a sink plunger won't help with toilet troubles, the toilet plunger can work on your sink or tub. Just make sure to keep that flap tucked inside the cup. And don't forget to give it a thorough clean with bleach before switching from toilet to sink use. You definitely don't want to mix things up. If you still work in an office, next time you print out something, make sure to check out this stapler built right into the printer. It can staple all the documents that fit in the slot at the same time. By the way, it's not something new. Such printers have been around since the 90s. Why buy a ruler and spend your hard-earned dollars if you can simply use a dollar bill to measure whatever you want? Only as long as this whatever is somewhere around 6 inches. A dollar bill is just about this size. Even though many people are sure that those tiny holes on the bottom left side of your iPhone are the speaker, they're actually a microphone. And speaking of iPhones, if you've got one of the latest models and your phone is out of juice but there's no socket to be found nearby, here's a nifty trick. Grab a double-ended charger cord and connect it to another iPhone 15. Boom! Your phone gets a little power boost. I bet you've noticed that the hook on a tape measure is a little loose. Well, that's intentional. The hook moves just enough to account for its own thickness, ensuring both inside and outside measurements are accurate. So if you ever thought it was broken, nope, it's just doing its job. As for the hole at the end, it's replacing the tape on the edge of a nail to get measurements from odd spots. The pockets on new suits are sewn shut to keep the jacket's shape during transportation and display. Of course, you can unpick them to use the pockets, but you need to be careful with what you put there. Anything heavy can easily distort the suit's shape. The important thing, though, is to remember to cut the threads holding the back vents together for better movement and comfort. Oh, and remember to cut those tacky stitches that fasten your new coat's vent, that flap on the back. Now, that sink squeegee thing actually hides a big secret. It can store water. Many sink squeegees have tiny holes that allow water to stay inside. But why would we need that water? Oh, you can release it as you squeegee, which will help you rinse the sink as you clean it. Here's a travel tip that will help you understand US highways. In the US, highways with even numbers run east-west, and those with odd numbers run north-south. If a highway number starts with an odd digit, it's a spur, which means it doesn't reconnect to the main highway. If it starts with an even digit, it's a loop around or through a city that eventually reconnects with the main highway. And finally, numbers divisible by 5 are major highways meant for cross-country travel. Your iPhone camera can also translate laundry symbols, identify plants, and even recognize some bird species. It's like having a mini encyclopedia in your pocket. Another trick: when using the markup feature while editing your photos, you might want to highlight a part of a picture. Put a circle around the needed area and keep your finger pressed down at the end of the stroke. Voila! Instead of a misshapen circle, you get a perfect one. It also works for squares, triangles, and stars. Barilla, probably the most famous pasta in the world, has teamed up with Spotify to create playlists that match the cooking time for different pasta shapes. Just start the playlist when you drop the pasta into boiling water. And when the music stops, your pasta is ready. Toasters have crumb trays at the bottom that you can and should clean regularly. Just slide it out and dump the crumbs. It's an easy way to keep your toaster clean and working well. You can use Google Maps to share your location in real time. Just tap your account icon, select Location Sharing, and choose how long to share. Your friends can track your progress and be ready when you arrive. You can also save your parking location by clicking the blue dot. Do you know that the knobs on some ovens have calibration screws on the back? You can adjust them to get more accurate temperature control. It'll definitely help you avoid overcooking or undercooking your meals. In non-prepaid gas stations in the US, try pressing Enter before swiping your debit or credit card. It'll take you to the prepaid screen, and you can enter the amount you need manually. If you're drinking outside on a windy day, place some coins in an empty cup, and then put the cup you're drinking from inside the first one. The weight of the coins will help you keep your drink from getting blown over. Simple, but effective. Once you've peeled your potato, you might spot some tiny divots, known as eyes, that still have some skin on them. Many peelers come with a handy scoop designed to tackle these little guys. Just take the scoop, dig in, and pop them out. Easy peasy. Your favorite potato recipe will be totally eye-free in no time. A cell phone's camera can help you to figure out whether your remote is working. The camera is sensitive to infrared, so you just need to turn it on and point the remote at the camera while pressing the remote's buttons. You'll see the LED flashing in response. If you spot nothing, something is definitely wrong with the remote. Bonus fact here: white vinegar isn't just for cooking, it's also the real laundry hero. If you add it to your laundry, it'll take out all the bad smells from your clothes. The amount to add can be anywhere from a splash to a cup during the wash. And don't worry about the vinegar smell. It washes away completely, leaving your clothes fresh. It's also great for removing hard water buildup. Not so long ago, in the 1950s, the average literacy rate in the world was 35%. Meaning that in a group of 10, 6 people didn't know how to read and write. However, 50 years later, the literacy rate went to 90%, leaving only 1 person in a group of 10 without reading and writing skills. The key to this lightning speed growth can be found basically in every house. Nope, it's not the internet. The internet, on the contrary, can reportedly make us dumber in no time. The key to worldwide literacy is this big pen you've definitely held in your hands at least once in your life. Fun fact: this trusty pen has been outselling iconic items like the Rubik's Cube and even the iPhone since the 1950s. Each second, 57 Bic pens are sold, while it's 590 iPhones a minute, meaning it's just around 10 devices a second. Every single day, Bic sells 14 million of their nifty pens. Despite its popularity, it's often overlooked. It hasn't become a generic term like Xerox or Kleenex. When you flick a Bic, you're actually using a lighter, not just another writing utensil. Back in the day, people used feathers and ink to write. Fountain pens were a game changer, but they were pricey and prone to leaking. Thanks to American inventor John Loud, The first ballpoint pen was born in 1888. However, it wasn't until Hungarian creator Laszlo Biro stepped in with oil-based ink that the ballpoint pen we know and love today really took off. He came up with a genius design that would smoothly pull ink onto the ball without any fancy moving parts. That pen could consistently give you a nice, clean line on paper. But his pens were crazy expensive, like $190 in today's money kind of expensive. No wonder they weren't flying off the shelves. See, back then, only about a third of people could even read and write, so pens were more of a luxury item than a necessity. And even though Biro had a great design, he couldn't crack the mass market. French businessman Marcel Bic saw the potential in Biro's pen and bought the rights, leading to the birth of the iconic Bic Crystal in 1950. With precision steel balls and affordable pricing, the Bic Cristal became a must-have for writers everywhere. But even so, despite Bic pens defeating illiteracy and stuff, there's another simple invention that may have been even more significant. Surprisingly, it's the shipping container. You may not have heard of Malcolm McLean, but this guy invented a standardized steel container that could be stacked on ships, trains, and trucks. In 1937, McLean had this genius idea, but it took until 1966 for international container shipping to really take off. There were many crucial events, and the need for quick and efficient transportation of supplies skyrocketed. By the end of the 1960s, McLean had made $160 million from his container empire. This invention didn't just save money, it saved time and labor too. Before containers, everything had to be loaded and unloaded by hand. Now, thanks to McLean's invention, it's all seamless and automated. According to specialists, the impact of containers on our lives is huge. They made the world smaller and economies bigger. Thanks to them, you pay less for everyday products. Let's say you're in the US and you need something imported from Italy. Air shipping is still ridiculously expensive, so we don't even take it into consideration. Now, imagine a ship can only transport 5 containers, each of them having 20 products inside. In total, 100 products. Let's say such shipping would cost $100, which would add at least $1 to the final price of your product, depending on how greedy the distributors are. But if you can stack the containers, you can add a second and even a third row of them, which will reduce the price. You still pay for the ship. It's the same $100, but you transport 200 or even 300 products if you can stack. Now, this is an imaginary and a bit far-fetched example, but you get the drift. Why are the containers so significant? Well, those famous Bic pens that defeated illiteracy were supposed to be delivered all over the world somehow, weren't they? And it's not only about the pens. Since we live in the era of globalization, we heavily rely on fast and affordable transportation for food, clothing, and even sponges. Meet Aaron Krause, the genius behind the smiley-faced wonder that is Scrub Daddy, the kitchen sponge that went viral on TikTok. Aaron went from polishing cars with a fancy buffing pad to creating a revolutionary cleaning sponge. His parents, both doctors, weren't too thrilled when he ditched the idea of a car washing business to pursue his sponge dreams. So, one day, Aaron was cleaning cars, and he ended up damaging the outside. But instead of crying over spilled milk, he created a line of buffing and polishing pads. 3M thought it was so cool that they bought his company in August 2008. But they didn't want the sponges Aaron had made, so those were just collecting dust in his factory. 5 years later, Aaron was scrubbing his dishes with those leftover sponges. Suddenly, a light bulb went off in his head. He had $1 million idea in his hands. And just like that, Scrub Daddy Inc. was born in 2012 with some grassroots marketing. Then, on an episode of Shark Tank in October 2012, not everyone believed in his idea. But Lori Greiner swooped in and made a deal with Aaron for a 20% stake in his company for $200,000. The next day, they sold a whopping 42,000 sponges in under 7 minutes on QVC. By the way, this beats Bic records of 57 pens per second. That day, scrub daddies were sold at a speed of 100 sponges a second. Aaron definitely sells heaps of sponges, but in terms of quantity, it's hard to compete with humble batteries. Just in the US alone, people buy around 3 billion of them each year. By the way, they've been around for longer than you may think. The very first example of a battery, if you let me say so, was found somewhere around Mesopotamia, and scientists call it the Baghdad battery. It was a terracotta pot, about 6 inches tall with a 1.5-inch opening. Inside there was a copper cylinder holding an iron rod, all snug as a bug in a rug. The top of the rod was separated from the copper with some bitumen and stoppers, so no accidental mixing could happen there. No one knows exactly what it was for, but there are numerous ideas about its purpose. From electroplating, meaning putting a layer of one metal like gold onto the surface of another, to storing sacred manuscripts, or even pickling veggies. But the real deal started in 1749, when the legendary Benjamin Franklin started experimenting with electricity and called his set of capacitors a battery, because they worked together like a military unit. Half a century later, in 1800, Italian physicist Alessandro Volta came up with the first electrochemical battery known as the voltaic pile. This stack of copper and zinc plates would produce a steady current, although Volta thought it was an endless source of energy. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Those batteries couldn't be used to power anything. But thanks to them, we got on the road to portable power. Alessandro Volta's battery was like the hot new gadget that totally revolutionized the way scientists worked with electricity. By the mid-1800s, the first rechargeable batteries were born, and a dry cell with liquid electrolyte was invented to make batteries more practical. Nowadays, we've got rechargeable lithium-ion batteries powering everything from players and toys to smartwatches. So, why are they some of the most successful inventions of all time? Well, they're the reason we have electric motors in e-vehicles and machines. Thanks to batteries, we have lighting all around us. And can you imagine not having battery storage for our telecommunication devices? It would be a whole different world.
Fun fact: Olympic synchronized swimmers, now renamed artistic swimmers, don't usually wear swim caps. When they compete, they put Knox gelatin in their hair. The result resembles unflavored Jell-O. Athletes mix the gelatin with water and it turns into a gooey mixture. After that, they comb and brush the substance into their hair, pull it into a bun, and put a headpiece over it. When it all dries, it becomes really hard, and swimmers' hair doesn't fall out when they swim. They often add glitter and other decorations to make their hairstyles even more exciting. The blanket octopus is called this way because of the females of the species. They're supersized and rarely seen. They have a long, fleshy cape which encloses their tentacles. Female octopuses are large, up to 6.5 feet in length. Thanks to this cape, they look even larger and much more intimidating to potential predators. But the coolest thing about these creatures is that the male blanket octopus grows to be a mere 1 inch in length, which is smaller than a walnut. This makes the blanket octopus a species with the largest gender size difference in the entire animal kingdom. Red Bull has published a video showing the so-called world's fastest camera drone following a racing car around Silverstone's Grand Prix circuit. The Dutch drone gods are a company that custom-built the manually piloted drone designed specifically for keeping up with cars moving at speeds of over 186 miles per hour. It took more than a year for Red Bull and the Dutch drone gods to create a drone that could accelerate twice as fast as a Formula One car, reaching this breakneck speed in just 4 seconds. The drone's top speed is almost 220 miles per hour. Recently, scientists have concluded that water might not be wet. You see, wetness is usually defined as a liquid's ability to maintain contact with a solid surface. It means that the water itself isn't wet, but it can make other objects wet. Okay.
Wow.
The Maldives' 1,000 rupiah banknote has captured the attention of people from all over the world and received a lot of praise for its stunning design. The note features the striped pattern of a skin of a majestic whale shark and a green sea turtle against a vibrant blue backdrop. It's already been called the prettiest currency in the world. Now, wearing a tie might be more dangerous than you think. It can reduce blood flow to the brain by 7.5%, making you dizzy and nauseous and causing headaches. Ties can also increase the pressure in your eyes if it's too tight. Plus, they're great at transporting germs. Gotta think again whether following that dress code is so necessary. A young girl from Washington broke a Guinness World Record by putting on 45 sweaters at a local library. Sophia Hayden pulled on each sweater individually all the way down to her waist before moving on to the next one. It was done to comply with Guinness World Record rules. She also had to make sure that none of those sweaters was ripped, since damaged items didn't count. As a result, she broke the record for the most sweaters worn at once. The previous record was 40 sweaters, and it was set by a French 11-year-old boy in 2022. Later, Sophia's mother admitted that it had been tricky to gather enough sweaters for that attempt. The sweaters were then donated to charity. Now, it was Louis XIV of France who is believed to have brought salt and pepper together, forming the basis for modern cooking. At that time, only rich people could afford to add pepper to their meals, and the king liked his food to be lightly seasoned with just salt and pepper. Our sun produces a sound, but sadly, we can't hear it. It's emitted in the form of pressure waves, and their wavelength is measured in hundreds of miles. It means they're far beyond the range of human hearing. Now, while we're on the topic of space, let's discuss the fact that our solar system has a wall surrounding it. Well, kind of. It's called the heliopause, and it's the region of space where solar wind isn't hot enough to push back the wind of particles coming from distant stars. That's why this region is often considered the boundary between the solar system and interstellar space. Another space fact for you: comets smell like rotten eggs. I know, ew. Other smells that might surround them are those of burning matches and even almonds. That's because of the traces of hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen cyanide found in the makeup of some comets. In 2016, promotional postcards were even made, carrying the pungent scent of a comet. Now, in any career field, the average worker is productive for around 60% of their working time each day. But if we talk about office workers, this percentage drops drastically. One study determined that the average office worker is productive for a mere 2 hours and 23 minutes per day. The thing is, employees are interrupted in general every 3 minutes and 5 seconds, and it takes people a whopping 23 minutes to get refocused after an interruption. It means that employees get 3 minutes of work done for every 26 minutes they spend at their workplace. Unbelievable. No wonder that statistically, people working remotely are much more productive. Scottish soccer team Inverness Caledonian Thistle Football Club is known for using cameras with AI ball tracking to live stream their matches on YouTube. Well, once, in a 2020 match against our United to be precise, when a camera repeatedly tracked an official's bald head, mistaking it for the soccer ball. Uh-oh, what a blunder. Now, speaking of sports, football teams wearing red kits reportedly play better. Accordingly, the color of your attire affects not only how you're perceived by others, but also how you feel. A review of football matches in the past 55 years has shown that teams wearing red consistently play better in home matches than teams dressed in any other color. One more awesome story connected to sports. In order to draw some of the most wanted criminals out of hiding, the U.S. Marshals Service once came up with an offer crooks couldn't resist. They invited them to the Super Bowl. In December 1985, more than 100 people came to the Washington Convention Center after receiving a letter informing them that they had won tickets to the largest sporting event in the country. According to the invites, they had been selected randomly from a clearinghouse list of D.C. residents and were supposed to receive 2 tickets to the Redskins vs. Bengals game that day. But to get in, they had to come to a pre-game party to collect their tickets. And guess what? The plan worked like a charm. Over 100 criminals were arrested, which made Operation Flagship one of the most successful in U.S. police history. Now moving on. Your brain is eating itself non-stop. Wait, don't panic yet. It's a totally normal process known as phagocytosis. During this process, cells envelop and consume smaller cells or molecules to remove them from the system. Luckily, phagocytosis isn't harmful. It actually helps preserve your gray matter, keeping it in top shape. Boy, I could use more of that. Giraffes are 30 times more likely to get hit by lightning than people. Between 1996 and 2010, there were just 5 documented lightning strikes on giraffes that ended tragically. But if we consider the fact that the population of the species was just 140,000 at that time, it makes for around 0.003 lightning casualties per 1,000 giraffes each year. This is 30 times more than the number of tragic accidents involving lightning strikes that happen to people. Animals experience time differently from us humans. To smaller animals, the world around them moves more slowly. For instance, salamanders and lizards experience time not as fast as, let's say, dogs and cats. All because of the perception of time, which depends on how quickly the brain can process incoming information. And finally, snails do have teeth, between 1,000 and 12,000 to be precise. These teeth aren't like ours though, so there's no need to picture snails with silly toothy grins. Snails' minuscule teeth are all over their file-like tongues. So there.
Walking on pool covers is just asking for trouble. Seriously. They might look harmless, all shiny and tempting, but some models aren't built to handle our weight. Fall through and you're in a whole world of trouble. First, you'll likely struggle to find the hole again, and once trapped, good luck trying to escape. Those covers are designed to float, so they're going to cling to you. Thrashing around only makes things worse, increasing your chances of getting tangled up. From pools to swamps. Now, the danger shifts to bubbles seemingly drifting your way. Watch out, because that's a sign that an alligator might be nearby. During mating season, male alligators put on quite the show to attract females, even to the point of roaming neighborhoods. It usually takes a few weeks for the male to win over the female, and if she thinks he's a suitable partner, they start swimming around each other. But the mating act itself is surprisingly private, as it happens underwater. All that can be seen of the actual mating are the bubbles that rise from the bottom of the swamp. The next underwater threat is much smaller, only about 14 inches long. Bloodworms might seem small, but they're like little dangerous mutants. During their life, which is normally about 5 years, they feed on the metal they find in the sediment at the bottom of the ocean. This metal actually fuses with their jaws, creating metal teeth. Yep, their super sharp teeth are made of 10% copper, the highest concentration found in any animal. When this bright red marine worm is ready to strike, it inverts its digestive system, including those metal teeth, and shoots its guts like a torpedo right at its target. Oh, and its venom contains 32 different types of toxins, paralyzing its prey completely. The next red thread on our list is a flyer, the hooded pitoe. Despite its cute appearance, this bird packs a venomous punch. Its feathers contain a chemical called batrachotocin, also found in poisonous frogs and certain beetles. Basically, when this toxin gets into your system, it messes with the normal functioning of sodium channels in nerve cells. This disruption keeps these channels open longer, causing nerves to fire uncontrollably. That can lead to paralysis, breathing problems, or worse. So, if you ever find yourself in their native land, New Guinea, stick to the chicken dinner and stay away from this bird. Another thing you should never eat is the pufferfish, especially a type that is highly famous in Japan, known as fugu. If you really want to try it, just know that only skilled and licensed chefs can prepare it. Fugu has to be handled very carefully, because certain parts of the fish contain a toxin called tetrodotoxin. To understand how dangerous this substance is, consider that around 55 people per year lose their lives after eating this fish. Hundreds more experience symptoms like dizziness and vomiting. If prepared correctly, and I emphasize if, this type of pufferfish can be enjoyed as sashimi or in hot pot dishes. But I wouldn't dare to try it. If you ever stumble upon a foaming watermelon, do yourself a favor. don't eat it. The foam coming from the cracks in the rind happens because it's grown in super hot weather. In the US, for example, this fruit comes mostly from Florida, Arizona, California, Delaware, and Texas. When watermelons grow in that heat, they start fermenting. Once this process begins inside a watermelon, it creates the perfect environment for toxic pathogens to flourish. Trust me, that's not the flavor you want to explore since it can make you sick. Plus, if the fermentation process builds up and you decide to cut the watermelon, be prepared for a fruit explosion. Get rid of stinky potatoes as soon as possible. When these spuds turn mushy, they start giving off a nasty gas called solanine. Inhaling enough of it can knock you out cold and even give you wild hallucinations and raging fever. Usually, potatoes in that stage have a green color. Although the green color that forms on the skin of a potato is actually chlorophyll, which isn't toxic at all. Its presence indicates concentrations of solanine. This toxin is produced in the green parts of the potato, the leaves, the stem, and any green spots on the skin. This strange process occurs because it's the plant's defense mechanism against insects, diseases, predators, and apparently humans too. To prevent any bad consequences, remember to store your potatoes in a cool, dark place and remove the skin before eating them. Next on our list is something that we all love: hot dogs. Besides their zero nutritional value and controversial ingredients, the shape of hot dogs is a perfect plug for airways. In fact, this is actually the leading cause of choking for kids under 14. As a grown-up, you're probably already pretty cautious, but it's still smart to skip those hot dog eating contests. Never pick cashews straight from the trees. In their natural state, those little guys contain an oily resin called urushiol. If you come into contact with it, you can end up with a rash that itches and looks like a bad case of poison ivy. Fortunately, those raw cashews you find in supermarkets aren't really raw. They've been roasted at high heat once or twice to make them safe to eat. Once cashews are clear of urushiol, they go through quality checks, and then they're good to hit the shelves. One thing that is not safe to buy, though, is clothes labeled as stain-resistant. I know it seems like a great deal, but those words might actually mean the item is packed with some not-so-cool stuff that can mess with your body, like per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. So, along with all the usual stuff like processing and dyes, these fabrics get an extra dose of chemicals that stick around even after you wear them. Yep, stain-resistant clothes might be poisonous and can cause you all sorts of issues, like rashes, headaches, and brain fog. And I don't need any more brain fog. We've all heard it a million times, but it's worth repeating. Don't stand too close to a moving train. But why? Well, when a train speeds by on the tracks, the air rushes past at different speeds on either side of you. According to something called Bernoulli's theorem, the air pressure between you and the train is lower than the pressure on the other side of you. This creates a kind of suction that can pull you towards the train, putting you at risk of getting hurt. So, yeah, it's definitely best to stay away from the tracks. But if your travel plan involves hopping into the passenger seat of a car, don't rest your feet on the dashboard. I get it, we've all done it. But this chill habit is seriously risky. One of the most crucial reasons to avoid putting your feet on the dashboard is the danger it poses if the airbag deploys. You might be wearing your kneecaps as a sleep mask. Airbags are meant to deploy with some serious force in a crash. If your feet are up there, you're way more likely to get hurt when that airbag slams into you, possibly causing some serious injuries, like fractures or dislocations. Plus, this bad habit compromises the effectiveness of the seatbelt. With your feet in an elevated position, the seatbelt might not keep you securely in place. So, you're on a road trip headed for a camping adventure. You're wandering through the forest looking for the perfect spot to pitch your tent. But hold up. Is that an orange X painted on a tree? You might think that this is just a sign that the tree is getting axed, but it's actually something else entirely. The U.S. Forest Service uses that symbol to mark boundaries, usually indicating the edge of the government-owned land. So if you spot an orange X on a tree, your best move is to turn around and head back the way you came. What's hiding inside Coca-Cola cans and regular household batteries? Why do magnets affect breakfast cereals? Do crosswalk buttons actually work, or are they just useless decorations? What does that USB symbol really mean? I'm not sure I know the answers to these and similar questions, but I'm eager to learn the truth together with you. Let's find it out. Coca-Cola cans have a secret few people know about. Here's a Coke can. Let's submerge it in a highly corrosive alkaline solution. The aluminum dissolves due to a process known as hydrolysis, and we can see a plastic liner inside the can. It's made from a polymer or epoxy resin and serves as some kind of a protective barrier between the aluminum walls of the can and the rather acidic soda. Despite a popular myth, household batteries don't actually contain liquid, and if you accidentally cut them open, no toxic liquid will spill. Most of them are dry cell batteries, which are made of electrochemical cells. Those convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Larger batteries often house numerous small cells within them too. Even Tesla vehicle batteries consist of multiple small cells. When combined, they easily provide the necessary voltage. Most toothbrushes have differently colored bristles, but they aren't just pleasing to the eye. Those bristles, often blue, have a functional purpose. They're called toothbrush indicators, and their colors fade as you use the brush. The American Dental Association recommends changing your toothbrush at least 4 times a year. And by getting paler, these bristles help you figure out when it's time to replace your toothbrush. You'll probably agree that there's no better snack than a pack of chips. Some are flat, others have ridges. Is it just aesthetics? Not really. The main purpose of those lines on some kinds of chips is to help with the distribution of spices and seasonings. In other words, all those substances that make your chips taste like cheese are mostly stored inside the lines. Plus, the lines make chips crunchier. Now this one might be a surprise, but some breakfast cereals are magnetic. That's because they're often fortified with iron in the form of a fine powder. Due to the added iron, cereal flakes get attracted to magnets. All this may sound kinda alarming, but in reality, the iron content in the flakes is minimal and doesn't pose any threat to your health. That clear fluid in gel pens is called the ink follower or stopper fluid. The gel in such pens contains pigment particles dissolved in a polymer solution. The main task of the stopper fluid is to be a barrier to prevent the gel from evaporating or leaking out. Without this transparent fluid, your gel pen wouldn't function. The fluid always stays in one position and doesn't get dissolved with the gel. Neither does it move backwards or flow out of the pen. Many pedestrian crosswalk buttons, namely in New York, are placebo buttons. They do literally nothing when you press them. Originally, they were functional after being introduced in 1964, but today, most of them don't affect traffic lights, which are programmed based on the real needs of the traffic flow. Why do such buttons even exist then? It's a simple psychological trick, providing you with an illusion of control. You might have noticed that movie theater seats are almost always red. This choice isn't random, it has strategic importance, which is rooted in visual science. The thing is, red light has a longer wavelength. It means that it's the first color to disappear in low light. It allows the audience to concentrate better on the screen once the movie begins. Such a design choice enhances the viewing experience by minimizing distractions. Speed bumps are crucial for pedestrian safety, but at the same time, they can seriously increase car emissions due to the non-stop acceleration and deceleration they cause. To address this issue, some cities, like London, are testing fake speed bumps. Those are optical illusions painted on the road. They look raised from a driver's perspective, but in reality, they're flat. Authorities hope that this approach will slow down drivers without having a negative impact on the environment. Soda bottles are always filled in such a way that there's some space between the liquid and the cap. That's because soda contains carbon dioxide. It's a gas that can expand once the bottle's heated. If there's no gap in the bottle, it can break because of the pressure building inside. Also, when you open your drink, the gases go out in the form of bubbles, making the drink overflow. The gap helps with this problem too. The USB symbol, looking like a trident, has always sparked multiple speculations about its origin. One popular idea is that it represents Neptune's trident and symbolizes power and adaptability. But there's also a little bit less exciting theory. A man who claimed to have designed the symbol in the 1980s stated that it was supposed to represent connectivity. The large circle symbolizes a computer, while the attached shapes, the circle, the triangle, and square, stand for different outputs. The design of a tennis racket has a specific feature known as the throat. It's an open space below the head of the racket. This space isn't just for storing balls, it also improves the racket's aerodynamics by letting air pass through. It seriously reduces drag during swings. Speaking of tennis courts are usually built with a north-south orientation. It helps minimize the impact of the sun's position during the game, ensuring that neither player has the sun directly in their eyes. Look closely at a tram's overhead lines, and you'll see that its contact wires zigzag back and forth instead of going in a straight line. That's because all trams have pantographs attached to their roofs. The upper part of the pantograph is gradually worn down by the overhead wire and eventually needs to be replaced. To wear it down evenly, the wire is not installed strictly along the tram's path, but in zigzag patterns. As the tram moves, the pantograph slides along the wire, and it wears down evenly. Those cone-shaped water cooler cups? Their shape is intentionally designed to prevent users from setting the cups down. This allows employees to minimize the risk of spilling water on their desks around various electronic devices. Plus, less material is used to produce cone-shaped cups, which makes the process less wasteful and more cost-effective. It also kinda supports sustainability by encouraging people to drink their water quickly and dispose of their cups immediately after. Most suitcases have 2 zipper pulls, and it serves several purposes. First of all, if one zipper fails, the other can keep the suitcase closed. Even better, having 2 zippers allows you to have easier access to small sections of your suitcase without having to open it entirely. And finally, when you have 2 zippers, you can connect them with a padlock for increased security. Some plastic milk containers have dents on their sides. These dents serve several purposes. When milk spoils, it usually causes swelling and high-pressure buildup inside the container. That's when the dent pops out and doesn't let the jug blow up. Plus, if you decide to freeze the milk, it will expand like any other fluid. And then again, the indentation will pop out and prevent the container from breaking inside your freezer. If you ever had a problem figuring out why fake pockets exist, you need to hear this. The main reason is that if a clothing item has a specific cut or shape, pockets may spoil it. They can alter the item's shape either in the warehouse or already on the retail rack. The solution? Getting rid of the pockets in key areas. Plus, fake pockets are obviously cheaper, and they don't get stretched out. The thermos wasn't actually invented to keep your coffee warm. It was made by a Scottish scientist who wanted a safe place to keep his chemicals at a stable temperature. So, he took 2 bottles, put the smaller one inside the bigger bottle, and vacuumed out the air between them.
Now, if you want to elevate your safety at home to a brand new level, try this fun trick. Hot glue a piece of chalk under the bottom of your door right before you shut it. Make sure it will touch the floor when the door is open. When you get back home, remove the chalk before going into your room. Look for any marks on the floor left by the chalk. If you see any, you'll know someone has been in your room. The latest must-have water bottle has become a popular trend on social media, with everyone rushing to get their hands on the Stanley Cup. However, there has been a warning from experts after a woman's car was vandalized in order to steal the viral cup. Although these oversized flasks have become a popular accessory, they have also turned into a target for thieves. Recently, a woman shared on social media that her car windows had been smashed and her Stanley Cup had been stolen. With the cups costing around $40, experts are warning car owners that they may be at risk of attracting criminals. The bottom line here, if you have some trendy possessions, do not show them off. There might be someone ready to steal them from you. When you get home, try not to switch on the lights right away, especially if you're in an apartment building. You never know whether someone has been following you and is now waiting to see which window will light up. It's always best to be cautious and come up with a quick solution. Leaving a light on in your apartment or on the porch can make a big difference. It's a small price to pay for your safety and peace of mind. Want to make sure your car keys are set up in the safest way possible? Check out this easy tip. When you're getting into your car, look for the option on your newer car key fob that lets you choose which doors to unlock when you press the button. Choosing to only unlock the driver's door is a smart move in case you ever need to make a quick escape. If all the doors unlock at the same time, it's easy for someone to hop in the back while you're getting in the front. Make sure you always have enough gas in your tank, especially at night. You never know what might happen. So picture this, you're driving home from your parents' place, and you see you've only got a quarter tank left. It's scary to think about running out of gas, right? And what if someone sketchy is following you, making it clear they're tracking your every move? Yow! So remember, always keep your gas tank filled up for those unexpected moments. It's a great idea to have a pair of men's work boots by the front door when you have maintenance workers or contractors coming to your home. Leaving out clothing, like boxers, around the house can also give the impression that someone else is at home and should be left undisturbed. Avoid using highly personal bumper stickers on your car that could reveal information about your school, hobbies, or other identifying details. This could make it easier for others to track your movements and activities. When using valet services, make sure to remove your car key from the key ring holding other keys. It's important to be cautious and not overlook the possibility that someone could be lurking behind the venue with a key copier. They may gather your information and location, leading to potential robbery in the future. Stay vigilant and keep your car keys secure. Now, it's recommended that you should walk against traffic while on the street. This means facing the oncoming cars rather than having them approach you from behind. Walking against traffic is safer, as it reduces the risk of a car pulling up beside you or behind you and someone potentially snatching you. This is a common occurrence in movies. If you have your routine well scheduled, you may want to reconsider the timing from time to time. The thing is, by adhering to particular hours and places, you're making yourself vulnerable to being easily tracked and potentially targeted for criminal activities, such as theft or trafficking. It is advisable to consider alternatives and break out of this predictable pattern. Avoid going to a car wash in the evening or at night, especially those gas stations you drive through. There is a risk of someone being between the sides when your car moves slowly during washing, which might lead to a potential carjacking or other dangerous situations. Making changes to your daily routine can have positive effects on your mental well-being and overall safety. By adding variety to your schedule, you can avoid falling into a predictable routine that could potentially make you more vulnerable. By making minor adjustments to your daily activities, you can decrease the risk of someone using your routine against you. There are several ways you can incorporate variety into your schedule. For example, you can change your commute route or the times you travel to and from work. You can also try visiting different stores for your shopping needs. Trying out new restaurants, cafes, or bars is always fun. Plus, by changing your restaurant preferences, you sort of break out of that predictable pattern of yours. Now, when living alone as a woman in a large or small apartment complex, it may not be advisable to display a doormat outside your door that is feminine or cutesy. This could potentially alert individuals involved in criminal activities, such as kidnapping, to the presence of a woman living in the apartment. Now, every car is assigned a unique vehicle identification number, also known as a VIN. Although it may seem insignificant, VIN switching is a common tactic used by thieves when selling stolen vehicles. By etching your VIN onto each window of your car, you're deterring thieves from engaging in this illegal activity. The process of changing windows with an etched VIN is both costly and time-consuming, making it less appealing for criminals to resell the car. Some professionals offer services to etch your VIN into your windows, eliminating the need for you to do it yourself. Having increased security measures in your car is important. Criminals tend to avoid vehicles with advanced technology, and this is supported by data showing that Tesla and other high-tech cars are less likely to be stolen. Despite this, it is important to note that just because a car is modern does not guarantee it is completely secure. Many modern vehicles come equipped with engine management diagnostic ports, which can be incredibly useful but also have their drawbacks. These ports can potentially be used to unlock or start a vehicle. If your car has this feature, it may be wise to invest in a lockable cover as an added layer of protection. Now, according to Michael Frazier, former burglar turned security expert, it is not advisable to use a "Beware of Dog" sticker if you have a dog. Burglars may view this as an easy way to assess whether or not there is a security system in place. In reality, if a dog is able to move freely around the house without triggering any alarms, a human could do the same. Burglars are aware of this and may take advantage of the situation. Additionally, many dogs can be easily won over in a short amount of time, unless they have been specially trained to be wary of strangers. In these cases, burglars can easily lock the dog away in another room, leaving the home vulnerable to theft. However, our dog Piper barks at anyone and anything all the time, no matter what. So, burglars beware. Michael also suggests adopting a burglar's mindset. Ask yourself, how would I break in? This exercise can help you identify weak spots in your home security. Take a walk around your house and look for easy entry points, such as windows that are easily accessible. Also, be cautious about displaying valuable items, like laptops, in view of the street. Additionally, when disposing of empty boxes from new electronics like TVs or computers, avoid leaving them near your trash can. This can signal to potential thieves that you have expensive items inside. Instead, make sure to break down the boxes and store them for recycling. You might have noticed that no iPhone has ever had a dual SIM card, and probably never will. Well, it seems to me that's remarkable. The software of the phones that have a dual SIM card has to support it. If you look up the iOS's source code, you won't find anything related to two SIM card capabilities. This technology requires transceiver for each SIM card, which of course adds to the cost of production of a cell phone. So, if an iPhone had one, the model would be more expensive. More expensive? Also, this feature would increase battery consumption rate, so the battery wouldn't last as long. Seems like the company opts for not having the dual SIM slot. Instead, the latest iPhone models support the eSIM feature that acts like a dual SIM slot. But this second SIM card isn't a physical card, but a digital one. To use it, you just have to upload all the information in your cell phone. To get one, just go to a cellular plan that provides the option and ask for an eSIM. You'll get a QR code that you'll need to scan and add the new cellular plan to your device. Or you can type in the details manually. Then just add the labels to your SIM cards to remember which is, for example, a business SIM and which one is personal, and you can start using both. Another thing iPhone has never had is a back button. Even back in the day when there was a physical button on the cell phone, it was a home button. This drives people who have never used an iPhone crazy. But the reason for not adding the back one is simple. A swipe from left to right serves this function, so there's no need for an actual button. You probably know that pressing a button on the side of your cell phone, you can mute your phone so that you don't hear any calls or notifications. But there's one or several people you wouldn't want to miss a call from. You can unmute them. This way, you won't hear any calls from everyone else, but this person will reach you easily. Like your mom. Wait, no? To do this, go to your contacts, find the person, tap Edit Contact, and switch on the Emergency Bypass mode. Now, even when your phone is muted, when this person calls you, you'll hear it. Sometimes we have to give our phone to someone so that they can play on it or read or scroll through some photos. The fact of giving away your cell phone to someone might make you fear that the person will end up peeking into some personal info. To help you keep your peace of mind, there's a guided access feature on your iPhone that, when activated, will not allow the person to leave the app. To activate it, go to Settings, Accessibility, and then scroll down to find the guided access. Enable it and set a passcode. There's also a way to hide some of your photos. To do this, open the photo you want to hide, tap the Share button, and then tap Hide. To find the hidden album, go to Photos, then Albums, and scroll down till under Utilities, where you'll see the hidden album. Which is really not that hidden because everyone can access it anyways if they find it. If you don't want the hidden album to show up, you can hide it for good. Go to Settings, then Photos, scroll down, and switch off the hidden album mode. It's turned on by default, so this way you'll make it disappear. To bring it back, switch the hidden album back on. You can add captions to your photos. If you do this, you won't need to scroll through all of your photos to find the one you need. So, you took a photo of a bus schedule. Ooh, nice composition. Open the picture, swipe up, and you'll see the Add a Caption field. Type in a keyword such as bus, duh, and then done. If you ever need it later, instead of scrolling down through all of your photos, you can simply go to the search field, type in bus, and the photo will pop up. Usually, the last photo you've made or downloaded becomes the thumbnail photo of the album. You can change it and set as a thumbnail whatever one you like. Just go to the album, find the one, tap and hold it, and then select Make Key Photo. You're taking a screenshot to show one particular app to a friend. If you take just a simple screenshot, you'll have to specify in the message which row it's in. Instead, after taking a screenshot, tap on it. When you're in the editing mode, tap on the plus button, then on the magnifier. This feature will add a magnifying circle to your photo, which will zoom into a particular space. Simply adjust its size and the degree of zooming in or out to magnify a specific thing on the screenshot. In Safari, you can make a screenshot of the whole page at once, not only the part that's on your screen. Take a regular screenshot and then tap on it to go to the editing mode. On the top panel, select the option Full Page. Now you can see the picture of the whole page. You can also pick how to crop it if you only want a part of it, but it's definitely handy because you don't have to do several screenshots anymore. If there's a phrase or an email that you use a lot but are tired of typing over and over again, you can add a shortcut for it. For example, your full address. Go to Settings, then to General, Keyboard, and Text Replacement. There, you can add shortcuts. Type in the address in the phrase field and come up with a shortcut for it. Now, when you type, for example, address, your full address will pop up in the suggestions and you'll never have to type it all over again. To quickly send someone your current location via messages, just type in I'm at. The option of current location will pop up and you can just tap on it. Use it when you park your car. Once parked, just send yourself your current location so that later you can find your car. Well, more easily. Another typing trick is to use numbers. If you need to type in a number, you probably tap the 1, 2, 3 to go to the Symbols menu, then pick a number, then tap ABC to come back. This is pretty annoying. Instead, just press and hold the 1, 2, 3 menu. The numbers will appear, so you can simply move your finger towards the digit you need. Once you remove your finger, you'll be back to the text menu and you can keep typing. You can turn your iPhone keyboard into a trackpad. To activate it, press anywhere on the keyboard and hold it for a while. When it's activated, you can move your finger around and the cursor will move. If you press a bit harder, you'll select a word. This feature is available if you have an iPhone with 3D Touch. There is also a quicker way to close all your applications. You probably swipe them up one by one, and sometimes it takes forever. You can do it 3 times faster if you use 3 fingers when swiping. This way, you'll be swiping away 3 tabs at once. If you mistype a digit in a calculator, you probably clear it all and start all over again. Tell me about it. On the top of the screen where the digits are displayed, swipe to the side, and this movement will serve as a backspace command to remove the last number you entered. If you need to change the time of some event in your calendar, you don't necessarily have to tap on the event, edit it, and set the new time. Instead, just tap on the event, press it, and drag it to another time slot. If you go back to sleep to music or a podcast, there's a way to set a timer so that it doesn't keep playing all night long. To do this, go to Clock, then Timer. Set the time, and then go to the When the Timer Ends option. Scroll down till the very end, and you'll find the Stop Playing button there. Press it and then tap Done. After the time you've set, your media will stop playing in the background. Hey, you'll be asleep, but trust me. You know how they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do? Meaning, in Rome, you need to make sure your goldfish has a deluxe bowl to live in. In Nigeria, don't you dare to bring your own wheelbarrow. And perish the thought of adding as much mayo as you want to your dish when you're in France. Yep, bans around the world may be surprising, to say the least. Number 1. You will never see a good old doorknob in Vancouver, Canada. Some time ago, the city changed its building code to require the use of cool and sleek door levers instead. This change is all about making buildings more accessible and easier to use. Not only new buildings are getting a new makeover, even Vancouver's historic City Hall had its fancy Art Deco doorknobs replaced with shiny gold levers. But it's not that you can't legally have it in your house. There isn't a team of doorknob police coming to your house to confiscate your knobs. You can keep them as long as you like. Number 2 comes with a GeoGuessr tip for y'all. If you see this chair in the picture, it means it's 100% not in Basel, Switzerland. It's called a monoblock chair, and it's special. You see, most objects give away clues about when and where they're from, like the shape of electrical outlets or the labels on your shampoo bottle. But the monoblock is context-free. Some people call them one of the world's most perfectly designed objects, while others say the homogeneous nature of the chair is disturbing and the real evil of globalization. But why is it banned in Basel? Turns out the authorities just want the city to be pretty, and the chair design isn't to their liking. Right, if you want to keep one in your backyard, feel free. But they've been a big no in public spaces since 2008. 3. If you were ever thinking of bringing a wheelbarrow to Nigeria, I've got some news for you. Don't even try. Should you need it for some reason during your stay in Nigeria, just buy one there when you arrive. The authorities won't let you bring your imported wheelbarrow across the border. Why? Well, they're all about supporting their own manufacturing industry, so they want to give their local wheelbarrow makers a chance to shine. At number 4, we've got China, where the authorities decided to put a stop to time travel. Wait a minute, it's not what you think. No time travel machine has been invented. The ban is on TV shows and movies. By the way, it's not something new. The law was introduced in the early 2010s. Apparently, the big shots in charge want to keep things real and are not too keen on distorting historical events. They say some scripts are getting a bit too wild, making up myths, promoting superstition, and disrespecting the country's past. 5. Coffee pods. They've become super popular because they make brewing coffee so easy. But Hamburg, Germany doesn't seem to be a fan of those pods. Around 8 years ago, they took a stand by banning plastic coffee pods from authorities' offices. These little pods are made of various materials, making recycling a real challenge. While it's true that these coffee capsules can create a lot of problems, they're still loved by many. In fact, they've become a big hit in the US and Europe, making up a chunk of the coffee market. Hamburg is hoping to lead the way in showing people just how wasteful these pods really are. Number 6. Chewing gum. It has been banned in Singapore since 1992. The ban was put in place to stop people from sticking gum in all sorts of weird places, like subway doors, lock cylinders, and elevator buttons. Yuck. But costly train shenanigans were the last straw for the authorities. The ban was put in place after some serious gum incidents on the mass rapid transit or MRT trains in the late 80s. Some mischievous pranksters have been gumming up the works on MRT trains by sticking chewing gum on the door sensors. That caused a sticky situation and messed up train services. And there you have it, chewing gum got completely banned. Now, just a note here, yep, these are gums prescribed for therapeutic or dental reasons. And yep, they're still allowed. Also, don't get this whole ban wrong. It's not illegal to chew gum in Singapore. So if you come there as a tourist, you can bring in a little gum for personal use if you're traveling. Just do not stick it under this nice park bench, okay? What will create you a ton of troubles, though, is importing and selling chewing gum. Iceland is number 7 in our ban hit parade. Back in 1994, Reykjavik was like, no dogs allowed. It wasn't because they were all about cats, it was to stop this nasty tapeworm from spreading. The disease was serious business, causing all sorts of health problems. But don't worry, dogs are cool now as long as they follow the rules. Nowadays in Reykjavik, it's all about the cats. They're everywhere, roaming the streets like they, own the place. You can't walk 2 steps without seeing a furry little friend begging for attention. These Reykjavik kitties are so popular that they even have their own Facebook page. People love them, and some even carry around treats just in case they come across a friendly feline. And since there aren't many threats to cats in Iceland, they're thriving. 8. The Philippines. Now this one is really weird. Singing My Way in karaoke bars is sort of banned in this country. This seemingly harmless song has been linked to some pretty serious consequences, like fistfights and even people's early demise. No one knows the exact number of lethal cases caused by this song, but there have been at least a handful of incidents in the last 10 years. The song's lyrics, which can come off as a bit arrogant and prideful, seem to rile people up when sung in a not-so-great way. This has led some karaoke bars to unofficially ban the song to prevent any craziness from breaking out. 9. Hey, have you heard about Japan's Metabo law? It's all about measuring waist sizes to tackle obesity. It was introduced in 2008, and the idea was that if companies and local authorities didn't meet the goals, they would face financial penalties. The Ministry of Health believed this campaign would help prevent various health conditions. So, every year, people aged 40 to 75 had to get their waist measured. Employers and local authorities needed to make sure at least 65% of people participated. The goal was to reduce Japan's obesity rates by 25% by 2015, and if they hadn't made it, they would have gotten slapped with a fine. Did it work? Well, in 2024, there are only 4.5% of people who reportedly have weight issues in Japan. Number 10, and we're back to Canada. So if you catch someone in there counting out pennies in line, you can totally have some fun with them, legally speaking, of course. According to the Canadian Currency Act, there's a limit to the number of pennies you can use in a transaction, 25 to be exact. So if someone tries using 26 coins, you can play sheriff and send them to coin jail. Snatch up their pennies as evidence. Yeah. 11. And a condiment-regulated country here. Apparently, in France, they're cracking down on condiments in public schools. They're trying to make meals healthier for students. The rule is that you can't just go crazy with mayo, ketchup, and vinaigrette anymore. They have to be served according to the dish. Finally, Italy. In Rome, you can't keep your goldfish in a boring old glass bowl. Nope, that's considered cruel, because those little guys need their oxygen flow. Plus, if you keep them in a bowl for too long, they might go blind. Also, you can't give away goldfish as prizes. The law has a whole subsection about it. So if you're planning on bringing a goldfish home from your next trip to Rome, make sure you've got a fancy tank ready for them. And thank you for watching.
11% of people on vacation at a hotel room have found hidden cameras in their accommodation. Imagine how much higher the number would be if more people knew what they were looking for and how to do it. So how do you detect these hidden cameras? Let's say you've arrived at a random location for your vacation. You're renting out a lovely apartment. Take out your phone. It'll be an essential and beneficial source for finding clues of hidden cameras. Turn on your Bluetooth. Take a walk around the apartment, your room, bathroom, kitchen, and the passageway to the apartment. Monitor your phone to see if you can detect any unknown devices that appear on your screen. If something comes up, that's a good indication for a further thorough search. Even if you don't pick up anything on the Bluetooth, it's still a good idea to thoroughly search your accommodation anyway. Go to each room, take a close look around, and check the corners of the walls and ceiling, keeping an eye out for any suspicious holes. Holes are an unlikely place to find any cameras, unless you're in a haunted house from an old horror film, but it's still a good idea to check, regardless of how obvious it sounds. Now inspect all the movable objects, lamps, radios, television, shelves, and whatever else you can find sitting around. Check to see if they're facing at a strange angle, like if they were aimed towards your bed or bathroom. Once you've inspected everything with the lights on, turn them off. Some cameras may have small LED lights that can be in a range of colors. Go over the same area again, looking out for any suspicious lights. Make sure to check that the fire alarm is just a fire alarm. It's a common hiding place for cameras, as the fire alarm always has a blinking light. Approach the air vents and inspect closely. They would be capable of hiding larger cameras inside. Now that we've done a quick look in the dark, get a flashlight, or use your phone's flashlight, and shine that light around the room for an even more thorough search. Carefully look for any tiny glints of a camera screen. The reflection of the light will be minimal, so pay close attention to anything that glistens. Focus carefully on the inanimate objects in the room, reviewing every angle closely, even the susceptible plants. You can also utilize the selfie mode of your phone to detect infrared light sources in the dark, as it doesn't filter them out. These light signals can be found from night vision cameras, which rely on their infrared waves to detect heat signatures when it's dark. Put your phone on selfie mode, leave the light off, and look around the room slowly while focusing on the screen. It'll be awkward moving around the dark room while looking at the screen in selfie mode, but try to keep an eye out for purple or white lights on the screen. Now that we've checked for cameras, it's time to review the mirrors. Cameras could be behind them, and someone could also be watching from the other side. First, determine whether they're built into the wall or can be adjusted. If the mirror is semi-transparent, it will be built into the wall. These aren't common in your bedroom typically, which would lead to suspicion. You can do a simple test to check the mirror. Simply press your fingertip onto the glass, pushing firm enough to ensure that there will be a fingerprint as you move your finger away. Focus closely on the fingerprint. If there is a small gap between the fingerprint and the mirror where the glass should be, then it's just a mirror. On a semi-transparent mirror, there will be no gap. The fingernail test is used similarly, detecting if there is a glass gap between the end of the fingernail and the mirror. However, both tests may be complex depending on the lighting in the room and the position the mirror is facing, so it's not a definitive test in all situations. Semi-transparent mirrors are generally built into the wall to ensure they work without being detected. The wall must completely cover the edges. The lighting on the hidden side requires a brighter light source than your side of the wall for it to work. Put your eyes right up to the glass to further confirm what kind of mirror you're dealing with. Cup your hands around your eyes, ensuring there is as little amount of light from your side, and look through to the other side. If there is a slight indication of light behind the mirror, or if you can see outlines of objects behind it, you have a semi-transparent mirror. A semi-transparent mirror will have an empty wall behind it, so another method to check is to simply tap the glass. The sound of tapping on a semi-transparent mirror will produce an empty sound. If privacy is still a considerable concern after learning how easy it can be to hide cameras, further options are accessible. You have many options for applications available on your phone. Some will review the Wi-Fi network to determine any suspicious behavior in the area, as all cameras and surveillance equipment will connect to the Wi-Fi. These apps help you detect the concerning names of devices and identify the brand and model of the devices, providing further confirmation there is a hidden camera nearby. With the many application devices available, many anti-bug detectors can find hidden cameras, the body of wires, GPS, etc. there is a wide range of these detectors to choose from, depending on how much you want to spend. Security cameras have come a long way in recent history. In the world we live in now, you can find a camera in any shape and size. Anyone can purchase or modify a camera, and even place a camera where they like on their property. They are so advanced and inconspicuous that one could be watching you right now. The first surveillance cameras were installed in 1927. From then, surveillance in all forms has become more prominent throughout the world. The security camera's evolution has developed significantly. More so recently since the 1990s, when the development and variations have increased each year enormously. The application and the number of security cameras in public areas have grown so much that in 2021, there were estimated to be 1 billion security cameras worldwide. And considering most people have a phone or a computer device that more than likely has a camera attached, you can assume there will soon be more cameras than human beings on this planet. And if that's not concerning enough, there are also more secretive cameras out there that you're not even aware of, inconspicuously watching your every move while on holiday, at work, at the gym, or even in your own home. Cameras today are so advanced that there are many out in the streets with facial recognition technology. Some are computer-controlled, identifying an object, tracking it on its system, and categorizing the objects in its field of view. The definition in these cameras is so powerful they can zoom in and focus on the smallest of objects. So, when accessing an ATM, be sure to always cover the keypad when entering your PIN code. Hidden cameras are used discreetly, recording people while they're unaware. They can be wireless and fit inside all kinds of small spaces, like fire alarms, televisions, and many more objects that could fit a camera as small as a USB slot, making them all the more difficult to detect. Some places to be wary of hidden cameras are when you're moving into a new rental accommodation and when you're on vacation. There have been reports of cameras found in hotels and many other forms of accommodation. It's possible to find places all around the world with hidden devices. In some countries and regions, it's legal for a proprietor to have hidden cameras and other devices on their premises. But just because they may be within their legal rights in some instances to monitor their property, you still have the rights of your privacy and safety. You also have the option to talk to your host or landlord and question them as to whether there are hidden cameras. If you feel confident in doing this, when you pose the question to them, look closely to see how they react, taking careful attention to see how they respond and in what manner. If they're shocked by the question or simply don't say a word, it may be an indication to leave the premises immediately. But if you don't want that awkward exchange, we hope that we've provided enough tips to help you where we can.
If you've ever gotten bored while waiting in a car, like I have, you might have played around with a headrest. Yep, you can pull them off, and they'll come right off relatively easily. It seems useless at first, but that's something you'll want to do if you're ever trapped in a car and need to break a window to get out, like I do. Even a box of aluminum foil has its secret. On the side of the box, you can see a small tab you can push in. So simple, but that's what actually holds the roll of foil in place. This tab makes it way easier to unroll a sheet and tear it off without any frustration. Ever wondered why gripping a certain tool, handle, or even a pen kind of feels more secure when it's coated with a rubbery material? The keratin of the outer layer of the human skin is rough and stiff at a small scale. So let's say you have a polished metal or glass which is stiff but also a smooth and impenetrable surface. When you encounter that, the actual contact area is small, as is the friction at the beginning. Your sweat pores secrete moisture, which is why the keratin gets hydrated and becomes softer. Because of that, it requires many seconds for the contact area to increase to the same value it reaches almost right away with some soft materials like rubber. This mechanism might be used by our tactile senses when we want to identify materials. Now, the pom-poms on beanies and other hats have their purpose, and it's not just to look cute and fluffy. Well, at least they did have a purpose. One of the theories says French sailors used to wear hats with pom-poms so they wouldn't hurt their heads on the ship when the weather got rough. Yup, the ceilings of the ship were really low. When the waves were too big, bang, you could easily hit your head on the ceiling. So the pom-poms came in handy. Now they're just a cute addition to our winter caps. That mysterious drawer under the oven, the one where you keep all your kitchen gear you just don't know where else to put? Well, you used it well in that case, but the drawer was originally designed for keeping your meals warm, at least until you're ready to serve them. And that space under your lower cabinets that protrude slightly and can't be lifted, this area is also called a toe kick. It's the reason why you can stand closer to the counter while cooking. Also, the doors of the cabinets are off the ground, so they'll swing over your toes. The cabinet under the sink isn't for storage either. Maybe that's where you keep your cleaning products, but its real purpose is to give you access if your sinks leak and you need to do some plumbing work. That weird little hole at the top of a lollipop stick you can see after finishing a candy is not a whistle. It has something to do with the manufacturing process. When pouring hot molten caramel into a mold, some of it will seep into this mysterious hole and harden. This way, the candy will stay on the stick and won't fall off. Keyboard letters aren't just randomly arranged the way they are. The first keyboard ever made belonged to the typewriter. Typists eventually got so good at their job, they started typing too quickly. So the key arms would get cross-wired at some point and stuck. That's why manufacturers had to make the order of keys more random to intentionally slow down typists so they could keep the machine running. Do you like to let those brushes on the side of the escalators in malls polish your shoes? Believe it or not, that's not their main gig. The bristles are there for safety. People used to get their bags and clothes stuck in those escalators when they would stand too close to the sides. These nylon bristles kind of play with people's minds, and they keep their feet away from the escalator skirt panels and avoid accidents. Most people assume bobby pins have curves for fashion, which is why they mostly place it in their hair with the wavy side up. But those little waves are actually there to catch the underlying bulk of hair and grip the pin into place. So the wavy side should go down. You've probably noticed measuring tapes mostly come with a metal stub that ends with a small slot. If your hands are full of stuff, simply hang the slot on a nail for measurement. If you take a closer look, you'll see the stub is a little bit serrated on one side. This means you can use it to mark the points, so you don't even need a pencil. If you spend a lot of time in planes, you've probably noticed that little hole located at the bottom of the window. Nothing to be nervous about. It's what keeps us safe while flying high. It's something called a bleed hole. You can see right there in the middle of the pane of the 3 window panes that actually protect passengers from the outside pressure. This hole may be tiny, but it takes all that pressure off the outer one. The hole also gradually exposes it to cabin pressure, which helps with fixing pressure imbalances on the windows, if there are any. There's a number 57 staring at you from the middle of the Heinz ketchup bottle forever. According to the company, only 11% of people are aware the number really has nothing to do with the product label. It's actually a sweet spot where you can tap to get the sauce onto the plate. So, next time you want some ketchup, there's no need to bang the bottom off. Just hit this spot. Grooves on the bottom of cups are there to make cleaning them in the dishwasher more convenient. When you place your cups upside down, these grooves will allow the water to flow rather than stagnate. This way, the water won't spill onto your feet when you take the cups out. The grooves are there to allow cool air to flow beneath the cup too. They also keep cups from cracking when they heat up after you pour hot beverages in. You probably noticed that little dot next to the camera on an iPhone and probably thought it was a flash. Nope, not a flash, but a microphone in charge of catching sounds when you're using the back camera. Next time you're looking for a quick bite and decide for fries at McDonald's, check that bendable flap near the top of the box. Some like to bend it towards the fries. That way you can cover your fries up and keep them warm. But if you're not that patient, you can flip the flap backward and basically turn it into a makeshift plate for your fries. Just bend it down firmly enough. You don't want it to spring back up and spread the sauce all over you. Take it from me, it's messy. In the 1970s, people didn't want toothpaste just to keep their mouths healthy, but also to freshen their breath. Aquafresh decided to answer that call, so they added a blue stripe to their product. Since consumers started paying more attention to their teeth and gums, the company added a third red stripe to their paste. The paste now has 3 functions: freshening, cleaning, and plaque control. And yes, solid white toothpaste can offer the same benefits, but brands continue to add stripes to their paste anyway. Speaking of toothpaste, do you know those colors on the bottom of tubes? The colors don't mean anything in particular. They're there to help in the manufacturing by telling light sensors where the end of the tube is. Thanks to it, the machine can cut and seal the tube properly. Hand sanitizers are commonplace nowadays, and you can apply them in many other ways besides just cleaning your hands. It also works great when you want to remove stains from your clothes. Sanitizer breaks up oily, greasy spillages and does a great job as a degreaser. You can even use it as a deodorant if you get caught out on a hot day. The bottom of the bottle mostly has a small odd-shaped notch. It's called a deco lug, and without it, your bottle wouldn't look the way it does now. Such bottles are mass-produced in factories using machinery, and each of them looks the same. Since plastic bottles mostly needed artwork on them, manufacturers wanted to make sure the artwork always gets printed in the same position for each bottle. So they invented the deco lug, short for decorating lug. It actually holds each bottle at the same orientation in the machine that applies the artwork. Without it, workers would have to watch the whole process and adjust the bottles by hand. Harvard biologists have uncovered a truly bizarre frog species that sports extendable claws, much like those of a cat. This hairy frog breaks its own bones to produce claws that puncture through its toe pads, likely when it feels threatened. Some salamanders push their ribs through their skin to create protective barbs, but scientists have seen nothing quite like this claw mechanism before. 9 out of 11 frogs in this genus have this feature, and most of them live in Cameroon. A bee's life doesn't have to end after it stings you. Some of them can carefully take out the stinger without passing away later. The bee starts circling around until it loosens and takes out the barbed stinger. After that, it just flies away without leaving any marks on your skin. Unlike wasps, which are carnivorous and can be aggressive, bees are mostly peaceful creatures. They either stay in their hive or move from flower to flower, helping to spread life on Earth because they're crucial for pollination. For bees, stinging is a last resort because it means demise for them, so they can choose not to do it to save themselves. You probably have heard that a salamander can regrow its tail if it loses it completely. Well, Mexican tetra, also known as the blind cavefish, goes further and can grow back its heart. Well, sort of. It won't get a new, full heart overnight, but it can regenerate its tissues. Scientists decided it could be useful for us humans, as they're studying these fish, to see what's their secret, and why not all animals can play the same trick. Thorny devil dragon lizard surely agrees with the proverb, 2 heads are better than 1. The knob growing from its back serves as a false head to trick whoever is after it. They also have a special camouflage coloring and a scary spiny body for extra protection. And if it doesn't sound cool enough, they also drink with their feet. Now that's a handy feature when you live in the scorching hot desert. The water goes directly from their feet to their mouths through little grooves between scales. Meanwhile, some flies have eyes on stalks. It might sound strange, but those stalks are super useful. First off, they give the fly amazing vision, so good they can even peek around corners. Secondly, these stalks can be used as tools to push away rivals, and the longer the stalks and the wider the eyes are set, the more attractive the male fly appears to females. It's like their way of showing off that they're strong and have good genes. Spiders have some seriously awesome biological tricks up their sleeves, or legs. Spinning giant webs of incredible strong silk to catch bad guys is a real superpower, and Darwin's bark spider is especially good at it. This spider can weave massive webs that stretch across entire bodies of water, with anchor strands that reach up to 82 feet long. Scientists were curious about how strong this spider silk really is, so they put it to the test. They discovered that Darwin's bark spider silk is twice as tough as any other silk and 10 times stronger than Kevlar, which is an ideal body armor material. The web can handle insane amounts of kinetic energy before breaking. ensuring that no tiny insect or villain can escape its web. The real hoax of the animal world is the male horned dung beetle. It is the strongest animal in the world. This little powerhouse can pull 1,140 times its own body weight. Its secret to success is its desire to find a partner. Female dung beetles dig cozy tunnels under piles of dung for mating. When more than one male shows up, the competitors lock horns and wrestle each other out of the tunnel. Smaller beetles also have a chance though, as they can move faster and slip into the tunnel more easily. Meanwhile, an alpine ibex has the superpower of defying gravity. Yep, it can scale steep rock walls just to get a lick of salt to complement its vegetarian diet. It's like when you storm the nearest grocery store for some late-night snacks. Back in the animal world, ibexes use concrete as an unconventional salt lick. Animals can't live without salt. They need it for their nerves and muscles to function properly. Wild goats have these rock climbing skills thanks to the elastic and rubbery pads on their hooves. They help them grip the rocks, and a hard, sharper outer hoof edge hooks into the tiny rough spots on the rock surface. Now, the pistol shrimp is just 1.5 inches long, but it can snap its claws at a speed of 60 miles per hour. That creates a bubble in the water that forms a vacuum, and it sends a powerful water pulse that can stun prey. The snap is so intense that it generates a noise of 218 decibels, louder than a gunshot, and a temperature that is as hot as the sun's surface. There's even a brief flash of light. Some scientists are thinking of creating a mechanical version of the pistol shrimp to use in medical practice or for a new type of compression engine. Now, if you go hiking in the trails of the Pacific Northwest, keep an eye on the ground and any decaying trees for some bright yellow spots moving along. These are the keels of a dark centipede about 2 inches long. If you pick one up, it will curl into a spiral and release hydrogen cyanide, giving off a strong almond scent. This amount isn't enough to seriously mess up a human. It can just stain your skin or give you an uncomfortable feel if you're sensitive. So be sure to wash your hands after handling one. But the same amount can take down a bird or a rodent. Speaking of birds, crows can count vocally up to 4. They're a lot like human toddlers when it comes to learning to count and quickly identify the number of objects they see. Scientists trained 3 carrion crows to make a certain number of caws between 1 and 4 when they showed them a specific symbol or audio cue. All 3 birds mastered the task like pros, with some minor mistakes like 1 caw too many or too few. Crows can also plan ahead and communicate with each other in a structured way. Cowbirds, on the other hand, have secret passwords they use to recognize each other. They're a type of parasite bird, something like a cuckoo, and they lay their eggs in other bird species' nests. This means the little cowbirds can't learn their real parents' calls and would have trouble as adults to find a mate of their kind. That's why they have an inner mechanism where they recognize their species singing like some sort of secret password that only they know. Meanwhile, ghost crabs growl when they're around creatures they don't like or find threatening. They first show claws to intruders in their personal space to make them feel unwelcome. If that's not enough, they'll go for fearsome growling noises, like dogs. That sound is coming from rubbing their 3 elongated, hard teeth inside their stomach. Teeth in your stomach. Ghost crabs make the same noise when they're grinding up food. When a puffin feels like it could use a good scratch, nothing can stop it from solving the problem. Researchers notice these birds pick up a small wooden stick to itch themselves. The authors think puffins might need sticks to knock off seabird ticks. Looks like it's more effective than using its own beak. There's an Indian elephant named Koshik who lives in South Korea and can imitate words just like parrots do. Koshik can pronounce the Korean words for yes, no, sit, lie down, and 4 other words. He puts his trunk inside his mouth and shakes it while exhaling to change the tone and pitch of the sounds he produces. If you can whistle with your fingers in the mouth, it's a lot like that.
Let's face it, airports can be pretty annoying. But the most annoying thing about them is probably having to take the laptop out of your backpack and put it in a separate bin while going through the security check. But, of course, they wouldn't make us do those extra moves if there wasn't a good reason for it. Laptops are dense, and X-rays can't penetrate them, so it's easy to hide something dangerous there. If the device is out and on its own in a separate bin, it's easier for the scanners to capture something dangerous. Most airplanes are white. Is there a benefit to choosing this exact color? No, white paint doesn't make a place feel lighter. Neither does it save money on painting. Here are the actual reasons for the choice: safety, efficiency, and comfort. The first airplanes had a metallic color, but the problem with metal is that it's prone to corrosion, so painting it is a great way to protect an airplane from corrosion. White is favored for several reasons. First, planes fly high above the clouds and are exposed to sunlight a lot. White is the color that absorbs the least heat, and white planes get heated less. Also, sunlight makes the paint fade away. A colorful airplane will have its paint fade very fast and will require repainting. And repainting is costly, so painting aircraft white is a more lasting choice. Also, any damage is more easily noticed on a white surface. So that's one more point for the white color. We always board from the left side of the plane, every single time, no exceptions. For some reason, the right side just doesn't seem to be an option. Yes, that's done on purpose. First, the captain usually sits on the left. This way, it's easier for the pilot to align the plane with the terminal jet bridge. Also, aircraft are fueled and loaded with baggage on the right side. Since people board the plane from the left, the crew can do their job undisturbed, and there's no danger to passengers. Consistency with the choice of a side helps to make everything work more effectively. Since everyone always enters from the left, all jet bridges are designed to get attached to the left side of the airplane. If every airplane had the freedom to choose the side, it would create an additional mess for the logistics behind the process. There are more questions popping up, like what does this black triangle drawn above one of the windows mean? Apparently, it marks the seat from which the view of the airplane's wing is the best. It's needed for the crew to find the spot as fast as possible if, in case of an emergency, they need to inspect the engines, slats, or flaps. This mark saves a lot of time. Next, the rows aren't well aligned with the windows. This is business. Originally, all planes are designed with rows and windows lining up perfectly. But when an airline buys a jet, they add some additional seats, squeezing them closer together. This way, they have more seats, which means more passengers, so they can sell more tickets. But you get less space for your legs and might miss out on a window. Also, all windows have rounded corners, and this is done for safety reasons. There used to be planes with squared windows, but those caused crashes because such windows couldn't withstand high-altitude pressures. At high altitudes, external atmospheric pressure is lower than the pressure inside the cabin. So, there's a big difference in pressure inside and outside the airplane, and this creates stress. Without windows, this stress flows smoothly through the material. A squared window becomes an obstacle, and the flow of stress needs to change direction. The pressure builds up in the corners, leading to cracks. As a result, such windows break. Oval windows allow the stress to flow more smoothly without disrupting them too much and preventing stress concentration. So, oval windows are safer. The glass used in production is stretched acrylic glass, and there are 3 separate panes of it. This is done as a security measure in case there is a breach. This way, at least one pane will remain intact at all times. Have you ever noticed those small holes in the windows? The tiny hole is actually only in the pane that's in the middle. Its task is to regulate the huge pressure difference inside and outside the cabin. This way, the outer pane can handle the load. If the outer pane breaks, the middle one, even though there's a hole in it, will be able to keep the window intact. Also, that hole prevents the windows from fogging up. Now, let's say you want to relax and watch a movie. Luckily, there's a pair of headphones. But they're weird. They have a 2-pronged plug. No, this is not some kind of advanced technology. This is a witty move to prevent theft. If you can't use them anywhere else but on the airplane, no one will have the urge to snatch them away. Outside the airplane, they're basically useless. And then they bring food. There are people who love airplane food and people who aren't very fond of it. But most will agree that food does taste different in the air. Turns out, it's actually a thing. Low air pressure, lack of humidity, and background noise that we have at high altitudes change the functioning of our taste buds. They become less sensitive to sweet and salty foods, so airlines have to use more seasoning. Have you ever wondered what would happen if someone opened an airplane door accidentally? This wouldn't end well. It would be very dangerous to say the least. More specifically, soon there would be a lack of oxygen in the cabin. But gladly, no one can open that door accidentally. The pressure difference between inside and outside makes it almost impossible. It would take some immense strength to open it. The doors are designed to open on their own in case of an emergency. Speaking of safety, during takeoff and landing, the crew dims the light in the cabin. This is done for a good reason. This way, in case of emergency, you will see everything more clearly. Your eyes will get used to the darkness, and you'll have an easier time evacuating. Now, about pilots. They always wear those cool sunglasses, but the purpose is not to look cooler. They're used to protect the eyes. Throughout their career, pilots have to take care of their vision, but the problem is that it's not an easy task when you're a pilot. The damaging solar radiation that our sun emits is filtered out by the Earth's atmosphere, so the sunlight isn't very damaging to you if you spend most of your time on the ground. But it's different up in the sky. There's less air there, and the brightness is way higher. And with every 1,000 feet of elevation, the solar radiation is around 5% stronger. On average, aircraft fly at an altitude of 35,000 feet. This means that the amount of UV radiation is 175% greater than on the ground. This is very damaging to any person's vision. The large amount of time pilots spend in the air makes them vulnerable to different eye problems. And having eye problems can cost a pilot their career. So, wearing sunglasses is a crucial thing for them, and these sunglasses must be of the best quality. They should minimize the impact of sunlight and withstand UV rays, providing 100% protection for the eyes. Also, they can't be polarized, since polarization can mess with the perception of the cockpit displays. They should provide the best clarity, decrease eye fatigue, and minimize color deformation, so that pilots can see just like they would without their sunglasses on.
So you're on a desert safari, but things don't go as planned. Now you've run out of water in one of the hottest and driest places on the planet. You might think you can get some water from a cactus, but sorry, that's just a myth. In fact, most cactuses have protective chemicals inside them that can make you sick if you try to eat them. There are only a couple of exceptions. The prickly pear and one type of barrel cactus called the fishhook barrel cactus have milder chemicals and could give you some water if you really needed it. Now, if you believe you can escape an alligator if you run in a zigzag, well, I need to disappoint you. This isn't true either. Just run as fast as you can. Alligators rarely chase humans on land. They prefer to ambush their prey in the water, where they are faster and more agile. After all, they can swim at 10 miles per hour. So the chance of an alligator chasing a human on land is very low. This zigzag running advice is more of a joke than a serious survival strategy. Don't believe the myth claiming you can survive a wild animal attack if you pretend to not be alive. Okay, in the animal kingdom, playing dead is a common defense tactic. Some animals even excrete certain odors to enhance the illusion and deter predators. Yet, for humans, that's different. Investigation into 14 different types of animals in North America revealed that, in most situations, it's crucial to stay alert and knowledgeable to be able to take the right actions in time. The next popular, but false, idea is that polar bears hide their noses with their paws while hunting. People think they do it because their black noses are easy to see against the ice, while their fur blends in. However, experts have spent years using telescopes to watch polar bears hunting seals in the Arctic. They've observed them for a long time, even up to 24 hours, and have never seen them cover their noses like that. Unless they have to sneeze. Just joking. Another belief is that running downhill will save you from a bear. This is based on the idea that their shorter front legs struggle to run downhill. In reality, bears are incredibly fast runners, capable of reaching speeds of over 37 miles per hour, and they can sprint downhill just as easily as uphill. So you'll need another strategy. The myth that vehicle headrests are designed to be detachable and sharp to break windows is false. The primary function of a headrest is to prevent neck damage in a crash. Research and documents about the headrest design don't mention any feature for breaking windows. Plus, not all vehicles have removable headrests, and those that are detachable are not necessarily sharp. Touching a baby bird will make its parents abandon it. Actually, birds have a limited sense of smell, so they're unlikely to detect human scent on their babies. This misconception often leads people to leave fledgling birds alone, thinking they're helping. But in reality, these young birds might need assistance. But also, it's common for young birds to leave the nest before they can fly well, and their parents usually to continue to feed them on the ground. If you find a baby bird that has fallen out of its nest, it's best to leave it alone, as the parents are likely nearby and will continue to care for it. The widespread belief that humans use only 10% of their brains is a myth too. Advanced neuroimaging tools like PET scans show that the entire brain is active, even during sleep. These scans reveal continuous activity across the brain, involved in functions such as regulating, interpreting, and acting. This debunks the idea that large parts of the brain remain inactive. The myth that shaving body hair makes it grow back thicker and darker is false. When you shave facial or body hair, it doesn't change its thickness, color, or rate of growth. Shaving just leaves hairs with blunt tips. These newly cut, blunt tips might feel coarser or stubbier as the hair grows out. During this phase, the hair may seem more noticeable and could appear darker or thicker, but this is just a temporary effect, not an actual change in the properties of your body hair. The tall tale that daddy longlegs are the world's most venomous spiders is just a bit of an overstatement. These critters aren't even true spiders. They have been wrongly accused of packing a dangerous venomous punch. In fact, they don't have venom glands at all, and their tiny fangs can't even break human skin. It seems they got their fearsome reputation more from their spindly appearance and as a case of mistaken identity. The belief that everyone in medieval times kicked the bucket in their 30s is way off. Life expectancy is just an average. Back then, a lot of people didn't make it past childhood due to things like rampant infant mortality and risky childbirth. But if you went through those early life hurdles and hit your 20s, you had a decent shot at seeing your 50s or even 70s. Most of our medieval life expectancy data comes from noble dudes, who often ended up as battlefield statistics, skewing the numbers. Soap is often seen as the arch-nemesis of cast-iron cookware, but let's bust that myth with a little kitchen science. The fear is that soap will take away the precious seasoning that makes cast-iron pans non-stick and awesome. Modern soaps are much gentler than those old lye-heavy ones that started this whole non-soap on cast-iron rule. Today's soaps won't harm your pan seasoning, especially if it's well established. The old "wait an hour after eating before you swim" rule is more of a misconception than a medical must. The idea was that swimming right after a big meal could lead to cramps, but in reality, it's not a hard rule. Sure, your body diverts blood to your stomach for better digestion, which could, theoretically, leave less for your muscles, increasing the risk of cramps. But for most people, a little light post-snack swimming isn't a recipe for disaster. Bundling up because you think cold weather causes colds? Well, it's not exactly the air that's to blame. It's true that we often start sniffling when the temperature drops, but it's not the cold itself doing the deed. The real culprits are the viruses that cause colds, which just happen to love those lower temperatures. So while chilly weather provides a cozy playground for these germs, catching a cold still requires catching the virus. In other words, it's not the frosty weather, but the frosty weather-loving viruses that you need to watch out for. Oh look, it's that time again when a Facebook privacy hoax makes the rounds, convincing people that a simple copy-paste can magically protect their data. Yes, the classic "I do not give Facebook permission" spiel is back, charming users into thinking this status update is a legally binding shield against privacy breaches. Spoiler alert, it's not. These posts claim that declaring sovereignty over your personal content on your timeline will stop Facebook from using your photos, information, and messages. Facebook's actual policies and user agreements, which everyone agreed to by signing up, still hold the real power. Shaving a double-coated dog is okay? No, it's a big no-no, with some lasting downsides. These dogs have a soft undercoat and a tougher top coat. Shaving messes up their growth balance, leading to a mismatched and not-so-pretty coat. Plus, there's only a 50-50 chance the double coat will return to its former glory, if at all. Contrary to popular belief, shaving doesn't cool them down. It actually wrecks the coat's natural air circulation system. Other risks include matting, sunburn, and impaired temperature regulation. The coat might never look or feel the same again. Go for a de-shedding treatment. It removes excess undercoat, helps your dog stay cool, and keeps the coat in top shape, all without the drama of a full shave. It's time to look at common misconceptions and myths associated with treating frostbite. Rubbing frostbitten skin cannot help. It can actually worsen the condition and lead to tissue damage. The idea that hot water should be used for rewarming the affected areas is wrong too. Use lukewarm water instead to avoid burns.
Do you hear a sound and almost instantly see a specific color? You may be part of a special group of people, about 4% of the world's population, who can experience synesthesia. You're not imagining things. A new study shows that synesthesia is real, and it has brain scans to prove it. When these synesthetic people hear colors, scans show their brain parts for sight and sound are speaking to each other. Since synesthesia seems to be genetic, some researchers picked 3 families where this feature was present. They went on to play with DNA sequencing, comparing the genes of family members with synesthesia to those without. They still don't have the complete picture of this unique feature, but they did manage to narrow it down to some 37 possible gene suspects. Sometimes, after a nap in an uncomfortable position, you might have felt your arm or leg all tingly or numb. You'd think it all has to do with poor blood circulation. In fact, it might be due to a little thing called paresthesia. This is when your body starts experiencing unusual sensations because your nerves are squeezed or irritated. Paresthesia can give you anything from a burning sensation to that annoying feeling like your arm or leg is not responding at all. It might even throw in some itching or the good old pins and needles. Usually, it shouldn't take longer than 30 minutes tops. Give the affected body part a good shake and it might speed up the process. If it takes longer than that, or if you're getting repeated episodes of paresthesia for no reason, best to check with a specialist to make sure everything's okay. You know what's also worth checking? If you've already liked this video and subscribed to the channel, just to make sure you'll never miss anything. On a regular day, you don't even think about your stomach or its chemical content. Can you imagine if one day this substance just vanished? It contains hydrochloric acid, which is also used in fertilizers, rubber, and steel. Should you ever inhale it, you'd get some serious nose and breathing trouble. Whenever you're chewing something, your stomach starts working those gastric juices. They help because they can help break down protein, activate pepsin, get rid of whatever bacteria you may have swallowed without even knowing, and signal your food to move on towards the the exit. Without the acid, the food would just sit there, turning into a bacterium breeding ground. Proteins and nutrients won't get absorbed. Your lunch or dinner might rush through your system as is, and you could end up eliminating undigested food. Ugh. There's a reason why paper cuts hurt so much. For starters, they happen on your fingertips, which are very sensitive areas. That's because they're full of receptors, which are like your body's receptionists, helping you determine the size, shape, texture, and temperature of the things you touch. When you get a paper cut, these receptors get instantly triggered, sending unpleasant information to the brain. Paper cuts also aren't like a clean slice from a sharp knife because of the dullness of the paper edges. This exposes even more of those receptors. Paper cuts don't bleed much and they don't clot well either. It leaves the nerves out in the open, making the discomfort even worse. We're always using our hands, so these cuts keep reopening, taking forever to heal. Paper is often treated with chemicals that can irritate your skin too. Déjà vu seems to just hit you out of nowhere. You're not a sorcerer and you're also not communicating with anyone from the beyond. It's just your brain malfunctioning. According to doctors, déjà vu is experienced when two parts of the brain are having a bit of a misunderstanding. These two brain parts are located on each side of your skull, right above your temples. They're like the memory cards of your brain, helping you remember things like locations or other people's faces. They even decode emotions and understand language. Now, in each of these brain areas called temporal lobes, there's a region called the hippocampus. This one is responsible for short-term memories. Sometimes the brain can get small glitches, confusing the hippocampus. That's when we get déjà vu. All this process messes with your recognition memory systems, giving you that weird feeling that you've been there before, or you've already met a person you're seeing for the first time. This is a completely normal process, and you're more likely to experience déjà vu if you're between 15 and 25 years old. It also seems that people who travel a lot or have the ability to remember their dreams experience it more often. It's hard to imagine if a whole civilization could survive without anyone having sight. That's highly unlikely, and here's why. First, imagine trying to grow food when you can't even see what you're doing. Prepping the soil would turn into a nightmare, because without sight, we'd be lost in, say, a massive wheat field with no reference points. Gathering that little food wouldn't be easy either. Animals might be lurking everywhere, ready to harm us. Communication would be complicated, since we wouldn't be able to read something without touching. Even our social lives would be different. Without eyes, we'd be left to rely on voices. Talking to someone without knowing who else is listening. Creepy. If you've ever had a spicy pepper, you know it's not technically hot in terms of its temperature. So why does it feel like it's burning, even if it's just out of the fridge? Well, spicy food has these chemicals that trick your body into turning up its internal air conditioning. First, your lips and tongue feel like they're on fire. Then your nose starts to feel all runny, and you might even shed a tear or two. Your blood vessels dilate, and suddenly, your entire body temperature goes up. To cool things down, you start to sweat. Your lungs might participate as well and signal your diaphragm to pitch in some hiccups, all in an attempt to kick out the fiery intruder. In most cases, all these bodily triggers are caused by a substance called capsaicin, often found in hot peppers like habanero and cayenne. Even though we might feel like we're moving around in our dreams, we aren't because of a complex system in our bodies. This keeps your muscles from doing all sorts of outrageous things because of the wild stories our brains might be coming up with at night. It turns out that most of this brain chemistry happens during the rapid eye movement, or REM phase, about 90 minutes after you've fallen asleep. During REM, or REM, your brain is experiencing some of the weirdest dreams, while your voluntary muscles, like your arms and legs, are turned off. This muscle lockdown is the reason why some people wake up and can't move, experiencing what they call sleep paralysis. The big mystery was how the muscles got into this paralyzed state. Early on, scientists thought glycine, a neurotransmitter, was responsible. Research has shown that even if scientists blocked glycine, the muscles remained frozen. It took a while longer for scientists to find out that to keep those muscles immobile, you need both glycine and another communication chemical called GABA, or GABA. We're not as hairy as our ancestors, but we do still get little goosebumps when we're cold. It's because of these tiny muscles in our hair follicles, called erector pili, that pull our hair upright. For furry animals, this creature helps keep them warm. But for us, it doesn't do much in terms of heat. Still, we and some other less hairy creatures kept this ability over the years. Experiments were done to figure out more about these goosebumps. They found these three key players: those erector pili muscles, sympathetic nerves, and hair follicles. When they played around with the nerves, hair growth slowed down. The nerves and our hair follicles work like partners, making chemical synapses. So, goosebumps aren't just a quick fix to lower temperatures. They might also tell our stem cells to grow more hair in the long run. That's why losing those muscle cells could be linked to going bald. Bet you've never heard of corrugation. It's a system that may lie hidden in your pantry right now. Ever notice those bumps on food cans? That's exactly what they're called. And they're not just for aesthetics. First off, they make the can extra strong. That's because they can help it from cracking during the manufacturing process. Plus, these corrugations come in handy during delivery, acting like a shield to make sure there's no spillage. They're also useful in the long run because they help keep the cans in their original shape. Even when things get too hot or too cold, these corrugations let them breathe a bit. They expand and contract without breaking the metal. You may not notice any cracks on regular cans, but even the tiniest of openings can leave a way for nasty bacteria to get in contact with the food. Not to mention, they create this little air gap, so when you pop the can open, everything slides out smoothly, without you having to put in that much effort. You know what also doesn't require much effort? Hitting that subscribe button and liking this video. You know there's a plant out there that's so eager to reach the sun, you can hear it grow? Rhubarb, just before it's picked from the fields, soaks up all the sun rays it can get to make glucose. After this sunbathing session, it gets transported to dark sheds. Inside, it keeps on growing and uses the stored glucose as fuel. Nothing out of the ordinary so far. But in that dark, cozy, and warm place, rhubarb starts acting weird. That environment pushes the plant to stretch itself out in hopes it will find sun rays again. It happens so fast that you can actually hear the buds and stalks making noise as they pop open. To make sure this process goes smoothly, there's no light allowed. If light hits the rhubarb at this point, it will start photosynthesizing again and go bitter. Speaking of everyday groceries, you might have noticed that veggie bags come with some green stripes. Know that it's a sneaky optical trick. Those stripes fool our eyes into believing the veggies look way greener than they are. And it's not just veggies that get this special packaging. Oranges are often sold in red mesh bags for the same reason. Lemons? They go for yellow or green bags for that same pop of color. If your cooking skills aren't that good and you're just afraid you're going to mess up dinner yet again, stick to mushrooms. That's because they're almost impossible to overcook. Unlike other vegetables that turn into mush when overcooked, mushrooms are way more resistant. They've got this interesting substance called chitin, a molecular structure that works like an armor. So you can cook them forever. They won't burn. Donuts don't have holes in them because it's easier for you to pick them up. If you've ever tried to make them at home, you might have noticed that when you fry the dough, the outside gets done quickly, thanks to the hot oil. If you want the inside to look just as good, you have to keep it in the oil way longer, but then the outside would get too brown. Thanks to that middle hole, the heat gets to both sides equally, cooking up a flawless donut. Here's how that small piece of paper makes it into your fortune cookie. First, they bake these cookies flat, like pancakes. Then, while they're still warm and bendy, they sneak in those tiny messages. As the cookies cool down, they toughen up and keep their shape, trapping the fortune inside like a tasty time capsule. One legend has it that these Asian treats were initially intended to help people send all sorts of secret messages without causing any suspicion. Here's a little tip for whenever you're buying lunch at a fast food place. Skip the word extra when you're ordering. The moment you speak that term, you're tempting the employees to charge more. Instead, go for something like, "A little more, please," when you're getting a special burrito bowl. According to a UK study, cheese is the most stolen of foods worldwide. It's estimated that around 4% of all cheese just vanishes from stores. And no, it's not mice doing the stealing, it's people. Why? Because cheese is becoming more and more valuable. The price of cheese is constantly going up, and sneaky thieves are trying to make easy money by simply taking it from the racks. It's not just cheese, though. Other interesting items on the thieving list include fresh meat, chocolate, and seafood. Ferrero, the company behind those luscious jars of Nutella, needs about 25% of the world's hazelnuts every year. So if you think about it, 1 in 4 hazelnuts ends up in a chocolatey jar. The manufacturers get the nuts from Turkey, Italy, and Chile, making sure they get them delivered from both the northern and southern hemispheres to keep things fresh. Nutella's impact on the economy is even bigger than you'd imagine. Because of this demand, the price of hazelnuts went through the roof. In 2014, a frost hit Turkey's hazelnuts, supply got halved, and prices were even higher. Now, even places like New Jersey are trying to grow those Nutella-worthy nuts. When you imagine someone trying to sneak something into space, your first thought wouldn't be a sandwich. But back in 1965, during a Gemini mission, astronaut John Young brought a corned beef sandwich on board, going against NASA rules. He hid it in his spacesuit pocket before blastoff. About 2 hours into the 5-hour trip, he went to the mission commander and offered him this unlawful treat. The commander, being a good sport, took it, and they shared a quick, savory moment. He even put the unfinished sandwich in his own spacesuit pocket to avoid crumbs making a mess of the spacecraft. Meanwhile, the official NASA-approved food was waiting patiently in a box nearby. Surely, radishes aren't your first pick when it comes to salad ingredients, but they have quite an interesting history too. These mustard, broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower cousins have been grown and eaten for longer than you'd imagine, even before the Romans were famous in ancient Egyptian times. In fact, radishes were used as currency for the people who built the pyramids, alongside onions and garlic. You'd think the English are champions when it comes to drinking tea, but you'd be wrong. Turkey is in fact the tea capital of the world. Every Turk drinks an average of 1,300 cups of tea each year. On a regular day, they're sipping on 3 to 5 cups, but when winter hits, they can reach 10 cups a day. Locals claim tea is like a social custom for them. It's more than just a hot beverage. It's an excuse to sit down, enjoy the atmosphere, and connect with loved ones. When it comes to types, black tea is preferred. There might be a magical drink hidden in your fridge. It's tonic water, and it might be able to glow in the dark. If you're curious, test it out with some ultraviolet light. The secret behind this glow is pretty simple. Tonic water has quinine. a chemical that lights up under certain conditions. Quinine was used back in the day to treat certain health problems. The stuff was so bitter that some people started mixing it with sugar and soda water. In simple terms, things glow because they absorb light energy, gets all excited, and then releases it as visible light. Quinine in tonic water absorbs and releases energy, making your drink look like it's from a fairy tale. There's an interesting connection between what we hear and what we taste. Scientists investigated and found that people worldwide link certain sounds with specific flavors, and they call it cross-modal correspondence. High-pitched sounds match up with sweet and sour tastes, while the lower, jarring sounds go hand in hand with bitterness. If it's staccato, think crunchy, and if it's smooth and flowing, think creamy. Some even found music that can enhance the taste of chocolate. In this study, when people listened to a high-pitched, sweet soundtrack while eating chocolate, they thought it was sweeter than when they'd heard a lower, more dissonant soundtrack.
If you're smelling something fishy at home and it's not your delicious salmon dinner, then it's time to check your electrical equipment. That stinky smell could mean your wires are frayed, your breakers are faulty, or your circuits are overloaded. And let me tell you, those plastic-coated wires emit a smell worse than a tuna sandwich left out in the sun. So don't be a fish out of water and get your electrical system checked ASAP. If you smell rotten eggs in your house, call the plumber straight away. The most obvious reason is the sewage and drain problems, such as contamination. But such a smell can also be produced if you've got problems with the water heater. Another possible problem might be a gas leak. Manufacturers add some distinct bad-smelling chemical to natural gas, so that people could notice even the tiniest gas leak on the spot. This one may not be as easy to spot as a unicorn in Central Park, but it's still important to know. Have you ever caught a whiff of something funky before your stove ignites? That's the smell of carbon monoxide. And let me tell you, it's no joke. This sneaky gas can be extremely dangerous if you inhale too much of it. And the worst part is that it's completely odorless and tasteless. That weird scent you're picking up, it's actually added to the gas to give you a heads up that danger is lurking. So, next time you catch a funky smell coming from your stove, don't just brush it off as last night's leftover lasagna. It's not uncommon to find mold in your home wherever water is present and trapped, like an unknown leak in the walls. Mold spores can grow as a result of this moist patch and can cause pretty serious health issues. Bedbugs have a thing for shoes. Yup, they love to hide in them, but only if the conditions are right. So if you've got a pair of shoes that you hardly ever wear, watch out. Bedbugs might just be snuggling up in there for a cozy nap. But don't worry, there's a trick to keeping those pesky bugs out of your kicks. Leather shoes are a bit too smooth for bedbugs to crawl on, so they're less likely to hide in those. Athletic shoes, on the other hand, are like a playground for bedbugs. All those interesting textures and patterns make for the perfect hiding spot. So if you want to keep bedbugs out of your shoes, just wear them regularly. Those creepy crawlers don't like anything that moves or gets disturbed often. And who knows, you might even squish a few of them in the process. Talk about a win-win situation. So go ahead, put on those shoes and show those bedbugs who's boss. Your feet and your sanity will thank you for it. If your nostrils are being assaulted by an unpleasant odor, it might be time to check your mattress. Recent scientific studies have revealed that a 7-year-old mattress can harbor more bacteria than a sci-fi movie set in outer space. Over 16 million colony-forming units per square inch. That's enough to make even the bravest of us want to sleep in a hazmat suit. But fear not, for there is a solution to this gross problem. Enter baking soda, the unsung hero of household cleaning. Simply sprinkle some of this magical powder onto your mattress. Let it sit for half an hour while you go do something fun, like watching cat videos, and then vacuum it up with a brush attachment. Voila! Your bed will smell fresher than a field of daisies on a spring day. So don't let those pesky bacteria get the best of you. And who knows? Maybe your newly freshened mattress will even inspire some sweet dreams, or at least keep the nightmares at bay. Have you ever noticed that your towel smells like a swamp monster's armpit? Yeah, that's because you've been using it for too long. Don't be a bacteria hoarder. Switch out your towel after 3 uses. And if you really want to banish those stinky germs, Toss in some baking soda every now and then. Your nose, and if you share an apartment, your roommates will definitely thank you. If your bathroom smells like a swamp, it could be because of stagnant water or some gross residue in the drain. Don't worry, if the plumber can't come until tomorrow, you can hack the smell by adding a few drops of your favorite essential oil to the toilet paper roll. It won't solve the problem, but at least you won't feel like you're suffocating. Now, onto the stinky toilet brush. Squirt some scented detergent right into the holder, or make your own DIY scent with distilled water and essential oil. It will get rid of bacteria, and the essential oil will hide bad smells. Just make sure you're allergic to the oils you choose. Moving on to the dishwasher. Did you know that mold can grow in there? Gross, right? Run a dry heat cycle with no dishes but some vinegar instead. Make sure to flush all the interiors, including the filters and panels. And if your silverware basket is looking a little moldy, soak it in some diluted antibacterial detergent before rinsing it thoroughly. Now let's talk about weird sounds in your house. Clicking and knocking in the winter or fall could be from turning on the heating or radiators. If there's condensed steam stuck in the system, try bleeding the radiators. And if you hear a bubbling sound, it could be a water leak or sediment in the water heater. Shut off the main water and listen. If the sound stops, call the plumber. If not, try draining the tank. If you're moving into a new house, check the walls and ceiling for any red flags. Fresh paint could be hiding something, so ask the landlord what's up. And stay away from popcorn ceilings. Not only are they ugly, but they contain asbestos. Asbestos is like a bowl of alphabet soup. It's made up of all these hard-to-pronounce crystal fibers: chrysotile, anthophyllite, tremolite, crocitolite, actinolite, and amosite. But don't let their wacky names trick you. Asbestos is one tough cookie. It can withstand high temperatures, chemicals, and even electricity. No wonder it was such a popular building material back in the day. Asbestos is like a sneaky ninja. It can break down into teeny tiny fibers that are so small they can float around in the air for days. And if you accidentally breathe in these fibers, it's like inviting a dangerous guest to your lungs. Yikes. So let's give asbestos the boot and keep our lungs happy and healthy. Just be careful if you're renovating an old home. You never know if you'll uncover a surprise layer of asbestos roofing. Odor-causing bacteria love to party in your kitchen sink and drain. And don't even get us started on the garbage disposal scraps. It's like a bacteria buffet in there. But there's a fun solution for you. Once a week, throw a party of your own by inviting 6 ice cubes, 1 tablespoon of baking soda, 3 thin lemon slices, and 1 teaspoon of bleach to the disposal. Turn up the music. Turn on the disposal and let those ice cubes do their thing. When the party's over, rinse with cold water for 30 seconds and voila! A fresh and clean sink. Your new sofa or cabinets could be secretly releasing some stinky gases into the air. Yep, it's true. These gases, called volatile organic compounds, aka VOCs, can make your nose and throat feel pretty irritated. And if that's not bad enough, they can even give you a headache or make you feel dizzy. Yikes! But don't worry, I've got your back. If you can, try opening up some windows to get some fresh air flowing. And if you're on the hunt for some new furniture or home products, keep an eye out for low VOC options. Your nose will thank you. Plus, who wants to be surrounded by stinky furniture anyways? Ah, the toothpick. This seemingly ordinary item that you often use after devouring a burger has a secret history that'll make your jaw drop. Pun intended. Don't be fooled by its slim appearance. The toothpick has been around for ages. Long before archaeologists could dig up physical evidence of ancient toothpicks, those toothy wonders were made from materials that fell apart faster than leftovers in the back of your fridge. Yep, I'm talking about wood. However, clever researchers have found hints that Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens were hardcore toothpick enthusiasts. They've studied prehistoric bones and deduced that our ancestors regularly used some sort of tool to keep their pearly whites clean. In fact, they even found scratch marks on a tooth that suggest our predecessors were serious toothpickers. In hindsight, it probably wasn't the best idea for the delicate enamel coating of human teeth. Fast forward to more recent times, but still ancient, mind you. And toothpicks were all the rage among various ancient civilizations. Literary sources have spilled the beans on this peculiar obsession. According to an ancient Greek historian, a local tyrant met his doom by using a poison-coated toothpick. Yikes! And guess what? Toothpicks from those times have survived the test of time for us to see even today. These fancy picks were often made from more durable materials, like bone or precious metals. Who knew a tiny stick could be so dangerous and luxurious at the same time? Now let's talk about toothpick fashion. Oh yes, it was a thing too. Even during the medieval period, when life was all castles and chivalry, folks flaunted their upper-class status with gold or silver toothpicks elegantly tucked away in snazzy cases. Europeans really knew how to stand out from the toothpick-wielding masses. One particular fancy toothpick dating from the 16th century is displayed at the British Museum. It's made with gold and even encrusted with pearls. The trend continued well into the 19th century, when the Duchess of Parma even had a whole dozen of valuable toothpicks as part of her dowry. At one point in history, some crafty ladies in Portugal came up with a toothpick innovation. Instead of using them to clean teeth, these brilliant women made disposable toothpicks, specifically for picking up sticky sweets. Bye-bye, messy fingers. And as luck would have it, toothpick production in Portugal boomed. Those toothpicks were a hit, finding their way across Europe and the Americas. An American entrepreneur named Charles Forster found himself fascinated by those same toothpicks he encountered during his travels. He was amazed by the exceptional quality of those little wooden wonders. Inspired, Charles Forster hatched a wild plan in his mind. He set out to build a contraption that could produce toothpicks at an astonishing rate, millions upon millions of them in a single day. He was determined to bring toothpick prosperity to America. But alas, fate had a quirky sense of humor. When Forster unveiled his toothpick wonderland to the American people, they just weren't interested. It seemed they were quite content with whittling their own toothpicks. Not to mention the idea of spending money on something they could easily make themselves left them scratching their heads. Forster knew he needed a magical transformation to create demand and ignite the toothpick frenzy. So, this daring entrepreneur decided to unleash his arsenal of marketing tactics. He hired people to masquerade as toothpick-hungry customers in stores, causing a toothpick-buying need among the unsuspecting shoppers. But that wasn't enough. He even recruited the brightest minds from Harvard University and gave them a secret mission. Whenever they ate at restaurants, they had to ask for toothpicks. Like magic, the habit spread, and soon enough, toothpicks became the must-have accessory for anyone. While Forster was busy masterminding the toothpick revolution, there were a few others who wanted a slice of the toothpick pie. In 1869, a quirky fellow from Philadelphia snagged a patent for his toothpick invention. It had a fancy hooked end and a spoon-like mechanism, perfect for cleaning out hollow and sensitive teeth. There were others who sought to improve the toothpick experience even further. One clever inventor dreamed up a retractable toothpick case for the suave and stylish toothpick enthusiast. And oh, there was a scented coating invented, designed to make your breath smell fresher than a field of daisies on a spring morning. As time marched on, the toothpick empire grew to epic proportions. By the end of the 19th century, billions of toothpicks were being produced each year. In 1887 alone, the count soared to an unimaginable 5 billion toothpicks, with our toothpick hero Charles Forster responsible for more than half of them. And just when you thought the toothpick madness couldn't get any crazier, there was a factory in Maine that emerged, defying all toothpick limits. It churned out toothpicks by the billions. Back to current times, it seems like luxurious toothpicks are ready to make a grand comeback. Leading the charge is a cheeky Toronto-based company that's on a mission to revolutionize the toothpick game. Now, you might be wondering, toothpicks? Really? How can they be luxurious these days? Well, these people have set their focus on crafting exquisite toothpicks from white birch and offer them in 6 delightful flavors. And believe it or not, there's something about toothpicks that taps into our primal instincts. Maybe it's because our ancestors were big fans of toothpick hygiene, and that trait has stuck with us through the ages. Everything about these toothpicks is in luxury and style. Imagine a slender bottle, sealed with a cork and elegantly embossed with the company's name. And that's not all. Each toothpick has one charred end, adding a touch of mystique. To take it up a notch, the company even offers chic leather carrying cases. Style and pizzazz aside, some dental experts claim using a toothpick may not always be good for us. If you find yourself in a sticky situation with something lodged between your teeth and you have absolutely nothing else on hand, you can cautiously consider using a toothpick. But hey, don't make it a habit. Dental professionals strongly advise against prolonged toothpick use. Why, might you ask? First off, breakage. As you're merrily picking away at your teeth, the little object might suddenly snap. You might even get a little piece stuck in there, which beats the whole initial purpose, right? Hygiene is another thing you consider. If you didn't buy that toothpick yourself, you can't guarantee its quality. It's hard to know if it's been stored properly, or if it hasn't come in contact with harmful elements for our smile. A fantastic alternative is, of course, dental floss. It's the best way to give those food particles the old goodbye from your chompers. It can reach those tricky nooks and crannies without causing any gum damage or pesky irritations. But alas, if you already have a bunch of toothpicks at home and don't necessarily want them to go to waste, there are many other projects you can use them for at home. For starters, you can use them in your garden. Toothpick barriers can shield your delicate plants and seedlings from creepy crawlies. Watch your plants grow tall and strong, safe from sneaky caterpillars. And if a plant has a little accident, don't worry. Toothpicks to the rescue for broken branches and injured leaves. These little objects are also the ultimate ninja cleaners. Dust and dirt hiding in hard-to-reach spots won't cause trouble anymore. You can use them to clean grime around remote control buttons, phone buttons, and toys. They can also be used to clean up buildup in your hairbrushes and shower heads, too. Ready to join the toothpick tradition passed down from generations? Well, it's called the testing for doneness. Grab a toothpick and poke it into freshly baked cakes, loaves of bread, or brownies. If there's still any batter left over on the toothpick once you pull it out, your dessert might not be done quite yet.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.